Chapter 573. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. Long E took the Crown Prince to a deserted place and spanked him. He didn't hit him too hard, but it was enough for the Crown Prince to suffer. After returning to Cunning Palace, Empress Xiao called for Xiao Hang to enter the palace. It was inconvenient for Xiao Hang to enter Cunning Palace as a male, so Empress Xiao met him in the side hall of Pure Flowers Palace. Ever since she came from the throne room, Empress Xiao's mind was filled with doubts. From the moment Xiao Hang received the summons, he knew that there was no way to hide the truth. Some things would come back sooner or later. Moreover, at this point, there was no need to hide anything from Empress Xiao. Xiao Heng first told her everything about old concubine Jing. There were some things that Princess Xinyang didn't mention, such as the fact that she was ordered to die by the emperor. Empress Xiao had been waiting for Xiao Hang for a while, so when she heard that the emperor had ordered the death of her most beloved and respected old concubine Jing, there weren't many ripples in her heart. She just sighed. Everyone said that the imperial family was heartless, but Empress Xiao knew that the emperor was a very sentimental person. The crown prince had perfectly inherited his sentiments, so he was deeply in love with Wen Linlang. Then, what about Princess Ning En? What's the matter with her? Compared to old concubine Jing, who had been dealt with long ago, Empress Xiao cared more about the living princess in front of her. Ning En. Did she really want to harm Xinyang? Xiao Hang shook his head. That's not it. Princess Ning En came back for revenge, but the target of her revenge wasn't Princess Xinyang. His Majesty, Grand Aunt, Gu Jiao, and the Gu family were her ultimate targets of revenge. In Ning An's opinion, His Majesty and Empress Dowager killed old concubine Jing, and Gu Jiao and Gu Chongqing killed the emperor's son-in-law. Empress Xiao frowned. What does it have to do with the girl of the Gu family? She could understand the other three, but wasn't her husband killed by Gu Chongqing? Xiao Hang said, at the frontier fortress, the remnants of the previous dynasty found plague patients and tried to use them to poison the Gu army. Jiao Jiao was treating a patient and unfortunately got infected. The Jiao Jiao didn't know about it and fainted during an operation. After that, he was captured by the prince consort. The prince consort is also infected. Jiao Jiao didn't give him any medicine. Empress Xiao said angrily, "Of course I can't give this bastard medicine." So, she blamed this on the Gu family's girl? But weren't they the ones who caused the plague? Being infected could only be said to be a consequence of one's own actions. What does this have to do with the Gu family's girl? Xiao Hang said calmly, "Some people are unreasonable. If they are reasonable, they won't become that kind of person." Empress Xiao sighed. "You're right. So, it seems that she didn't really give up the prince consort because she had no other choice." Xiao Hang continued, "I heard from Jiao Jiao that her relationship with the prince consort had been strained since before the prince consort was diagnosed with the plague. Now that I think about it, she might have thought about every step of the way from the beginning. Even the prince consort couldn't understand her thoughts and only thought that she was really estranged from him. This person's thoughts are too deep. Why didn't I find out that she was so scheming before?" Empress Xiao frowned. The bright smile of the girl Ning En flashed in her mind. For a moment, she couldn't believe it. Next, Xiao Hang told Empress Xiao about the case of Xianla House, as well as how Princess Ning En killed Lu Ping, persecuted the emperor, and bribed Assistant Minister Li to slander Minister Xing and Empress Dowager Zhuang. Of course, there was also the matter of Princess Ning En forging 2 imperial edicts. Empress Xiao was so angry that her face turned green. Outrageous. Preposterous. She was so angry that her teeth itched. After a while, she suppressed her anger and asked Xiao Hang, "Is the Empress Dowager all right?" Xiao Heng said, "She's fine. The Empress Dowager is living in by Shui Alley. She's very safe." "That's good." Empress Xiao was secretly relieved. "You have to be careful." Xiao Heng nodded. "We will." Empress Xiao looked at him again with a complicated expression. Speaking of which, you guys are too bold. Not only did you copy Ning An and forge imperial edicts, but you also found someone to pretend to be Princess Xinyang. She was wondering why Princess Xinyang was so strange yesterday. She spoke in a strange tone and even fell down in front of her. The whole harem saw it. If Xinyang found out about this, he would skin them alive. Empress Xiao felt sorry for them. Empress Xiao said, "Also, if your mother didn't come back in time, how would you deal with the situation in the throne room this morning?" Xiao Heng had really thought about this. Yesterday, after Gu Jiao and Gu Changfeng followed Princess Ning and back, they found that Gu Chengfeng's skirt had been scraped a little. At that time, they guessed that their identity might have been exposed. Princess Ning and would definitely expose them as soon as possible. And the best time to do so would be the first court appearance of Princess Xinyang. Just as they were thinking about countermeasures, Princess Xinyang returned. She came back quietly without alerting anyone. It was worth mentioning that Gu Jiao's identity was not fabricated. There was a servant girl named Yu in the house on Vermilion Bird Avenue. The human skin mask Gu Jiao wore was made according to her face. She was a Hanlin official who had passed 2 imperial exams. She still had this degree of rigor. Princess Ning An's act in front of the court officials today could be considered a complete failure. Princess Xinyang was not someone to be trifled with. Just because she didn't scheme didn't mean she didn't know how. She just disdained it. Empress Xiao lamented that these guys were really newborn calves who were not afraid of tigers. They had committed all the capital crimes and even killed their master with their fists. She didn't know if they were lucky or Ning and was unlucky. Empress Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "What do you plan to do next?" Xiao Heng said, "There's still another force in the dark. Next, we'll wipe them out in one fell swoop." Empress Xiao pondered for a moment and asked, "Where did that force come from?" Xiao Heng paused. "The Yen Kingdom." Empress Xiao sucked in a cold breath. Xiao Heng had confessed everything he could. The only thing he didn't mention was his identity. It wasn't that he didn't dare to tell Empress Xiao. Whether or not he was Princess Xinyang's son, he was still Marquis Swamping's son. Empress Xiao was still his aunt. He just didn't know how to say it. At first, he didn't want to mention his identity to the people around him because it was hard for him to say it. But now he was afraid. He was afraid that one day, he would leave Princess Xinyang's side and search for the truth that he shouldn't search for. He only had one mother, Princess Xinyang. Jade Water Alley. Gu Jiao sat listlessly in the central room, peeling corn. Last night, Long Yi had pulled her charcoal pencil all night. Now, she was sleepy and tired. Her little head kept pecking at the rice. Gu Chengfeng walked over and sat down in front of her. He waved his hand. "Hey, girl." Gu Jiao ignored him and continued to peck at the rice like a little chicken. She almost pecked the table. Gu Chengfeng hurriedly stretched out the back of his hand to support her forehead. Gu Jiao closed her eyes. "Your hand is so hard." Gu Chengfeng. "I'm your cushion and you still dislike it. Is the back of my hand or the table hard?" Gu Jiao sat up straight. Gu Chengfeng looked at her strangely. "What's wrong with you?" "I didn't sleep well." Gu Jiao yawned. "My hand is so sore in the morning." Gu Chengfeng clicked his tongue and took the corn cob that Gu Jiao had peeled. "Why are you women's hands sore?" "You're not a man." Gu Jiao asked, "Why can't a woman's hands be sore?" "Woman." Gu Chengfeng spoke halfway and realized what he had just said. He suddenly choked and cleared his throat. "I'm so hungry. Let's go and see if there's anything to eat." After saying that, he slipped away like a wisp of smoke, even forgetting to put the corn cob back. When Xiao Hang returned from the imperial palace, Gu Jiao had already fallen asleep on the table. She was drooling. Everyone in the family had gone out. Even Gu Xiaobao and Yao She were not there. Unsurprisingly, they had gone to watch their grand-aunt play cards again. Xiao Hang came behind Gu Jiao and gently carried Gu Jiao back to the east room. He took off her outer clothes and shoes and covered her with a quilt. Gu Jiao turned over towards him. He was in the process of tidying up Gu Jiao's hair. His hand was suddenly pressed under Gu Jiao's cheek. He felt a soft and delicate touch on his palm. His heart seemed to have been rubbed by something. He sat down by the bed and did not pull his hand away. He looked at her, and the corners of his lips unconsciously curled up slightly. Gu Jiao slept very soundly. There was a charcoal brazier in the room, so it was very warm. Not long after, her whole body heated up and her cheeks became red. Xiao Hang felt the heat from his palm. He looked at her face and unconsciously reached out his other hand to brush away the hair on her face. Then he slowly lowered his head. But the moment he was about to kiss her, he suddenly felt something. He turned his head and saw a masked face in front of him. A pair of innocent and grave eyes were staring at him with confusion. Xiao Hang sat up straight. Long Yi also sat up straight. Xiao Hang was sitting on the bed and Long Yi was sitting on a small stool in Little Jing Kong. Xiao Heng's eyelashes trembled. Thinking about the matter of Long Yi looking at him just now, his ears slightly reddened and he said sternly, "You can't do that." Long Yi understood. Xiao Hang said again, "Other people can't do that to her." Long Yi looked at the sky and thought for a bit. He probably understood. Digression, Beauty Xiao. You can't look for Jiao Jiao again in the future. Long Yi heard, Lu Lu Lu, look for Jiao Jiao to look for Jiao Jiao. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964282670995. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 574. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Gu Jiao slept until the afternoon. Long Yi had already been taken out by Xiao Hang, so only Gu Jiao was left in the room. Gu Jiao sat up, looked at the bed she was on, and pondered for a while. Oh, did I sleep up here? Today, both the Imperial College and Qinghe Academy had classes, but Gu Changfeng was busy helping Gu Jiao punish evil recently, so he asked for leave from the Imperial College on the grounds that he was not feeling well. Originally, he only asked for 1 day, but he changed it to 2 days without authorization. When Gu Jiao came out of the East Room, he was chopping firewood in the backyard. When he saw Gu Jiao, he stopped chopping firewood and waved at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao walked over indifferently. "What's the matter?" Gu Changfeng looked around and lowered his voice. "Come here, I have something to tell you." "What?" Gu Jiao didn't go over. Gu Changfeng clicked his tongue, put down the axe, and skillfully wiped his hands with a rag. Then he got close to Gu Jiao's ear and whispered to Gu Jiao, "It's—" Before he could finish his words, a tall figure descended from the sky, grabbed him by the collar, and threw him out. Gu Changfeng, who was thrown to the tree branch, was dumbfounded. What? Gu Jiao was puzzled. How did this guy offend Long Yi? Not long after, Little Jing Kong came back from the Imperial College. "Jiao Jiao, Jiao Jiao. I have an exam today." Little Jing Kong ran to the backyard, took out his exam paper, and handed it to Gu Jiao. Unsurprisingly, it was another big A. Gu Jiao rubbed Jing Kong's little head. "Jing Kong is great." Little Jing Kong lowered his head, touched his fingers, and said shyly, "Jiao Jiao, I want to kiss you." Then, he was carried away by Long Yi. Gu Jiao looked at the back of the two people and touched her chin strangely. At this moment, Xiao Hang came back with a basket of eggs, and handed it to Gu Jiao without any change in his expression. "Granny Zhou," she said, to thank you for curing her grandson's cold last time. Gu Jiao looked at him deeply. "Is that so?" "Ah, yes." Xiao Hang took the basket back. "I'll put it in the kitchen." He walked past Gu Jiao's eyes. Gu Jiao turned around and chased after him. Narrowing her eyes, she followed him and asked, "Did you say something to Long Yi?" "What did I say?" Xiao Hang calmly put the basket on the stove, opened the small jar of eggs, and put the eggs one by one. Gu Jiao asked, "Why didn't Long Yi let people come close to me?" Xiao Hang put the eggs with his back facing Gu Jiao, and his lips unconsciously curled. He turned his head, and his face became expressionless again. "Did he?" "Yes." Gu Jiao nodded her head. Xiao Hang said with a straight face, "Maybe Long Yi was playing with them." Gu Jiao thought for a while. "Oh." After Xiao Hang finished putting the last egg, he turned his head to look at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao was leaning against the stove, thinking about something. The setting sun slanted through the door, fell on her perfect face, and shone on her long eyelashes. Xiao Heng's eyes moved. "That N?" Gu Jiao confusedly looked at him. "Here." Xiao Heng pointed at her temple. Gu Jiao raised her hand to touch it, but she didn't feel anything. Xiao Heng walked over, stretched out his left hand, and plucked a small leaf that had fallen on Gu Jiao's temple. Two people were very close to each other, and their breaths intertwined with each other in the quiet room. Xiao Heng lowered his head, and almost kissed her forehead. "What is it?" Gu Jiao looked up at him. Xiao Heng looked at her face in a daze, and with his heart beating like a drum, he tilted his head, and gently pressed down on her. In the next second, a shadow flashed, and Xiao Heng was also taken away by Long Yi. Xiao Heng. Xiao Heng's other people, other than me, all other people. Long Yi's other people, all other people. Gu Jiao went to the blacksmith shop in the afternoon, took a blueprint, and handed it to the blacksmith. The blacksmith looked at the strange blueprint and said with difficulty, "We have never made this kind of thing before." Gu Jiao asked, "Can you make it?" The blacksmith said, "I can make it, but it may not look as good as the one on your blueprint." Gu Jiao said, "Let's make it first." "Okay." Gu Jiao came out of the blacksmith shop and went to the medical center. She opened the small medicine box, looked at the full emergency medicine, and frowned. "There are still no materials to make the socket. Do I really have to go and get resin?" Just as she was mumbling to herself, the second master rushed into her courtyard in a hurry. "Little Gu, something big happened." Gu Jiao walked out of the room. "What happened?" The second master trembled with fear. "I don't know. A patient treated in our medical center just now turned out to be an official of the Imperial Guards. Then his subordinate reported that something happened in the palace, and the Empress asked him to go to the palace immediately." In the Bixia Hall of the Imperial Palace, Princess Ning En, who had been slapped down the stairs by Princess Xinyang the day before, was now holding Qin Chuyu hostage with a dagger. Beside her and behind her, there were a total of 10 experts on standby to prevent anyone from snatching Qin Chuyu away from her. A large number of Imperial Guards were lying in ambush outside the Bixia Hall, and the archers were also on standby. Princess Ning looked at Empress Xiao and said fearlessly, "Don't act rashly. It's okay if you kill me, but no one can guarantee that I won't slip and cut your son's throat when I fall down." Empress Xiao never expected that Princess Ning would fight to the death with them so soon. She couldn't hide it anymore, so she didn't even bother to pretend to be fearless. Empress Xiao had to admit that ordinary people couldn't be as decisive as Ning En. She was really a bold woman. After Princess Ning En was put under house arrest in the Bixia Hall, she began to secretly evaluate the possibility of a comeback. Princess Xinyang showed her undeniable strength in the throne room. The emperor doted on her, but Xinyang wouldn't let her be. It was only a matter of time before she was exposed. Instead of waiting for death, it was better to take the initiative and catch them off guard. "Mother, I'm scared." "Boo-hoo." Qin Chuyu was so scared that he cried loudly. Empress Zhao's heart was broken. She wanted to tear this woman, who wouldn't even let her son go, into pieces. What would his brother do if he was here? His brother would definitely say, "Stop crying. Don't you feel ashamed when a man pees? Stop crying." Empress Xiao took a deep breath and said seriously, "You're a prince. Hold back your tears." Qin Chuyu was stunned at first, and then he cried even harder, "I can't hold it back." Boo-hoo. Empress Xiao was angry and heartbroken. She held back her emotions and looked coldly at Princess Ning'en. "What do you want?" Princess Ning'en said coldly, "Get the carriage ready and send us out of the city. Don't let anyone follow us, or I'll die with your son." Eunuch Su looked at Empress Xiao worriedly. Empress Xiao clenched her fists. "Get the carriage ready." Princess Ning'en said lightly, "Lian take Xian out." Lian was stunned by this scene. She looked at Princess Ning'en with red eyes as if it was the first day she met her. Princess Ning'en said angrily, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and go." Lian body shook, and a bean-sized tear fell down. "Yes, yes." She went back to the room in a daze and came to the bed, choking with sobs. Young master," she called several times, but Huang Fuxian didn't respond. She reached out and touched Huang Fuxian's forehead, and her expression changed. "Princess, young master is sick. His head is burning. Hurry up and get the imperial doctor for him." Empress Xiao comforted her. "Ning'en, calm down. The child's health is more important. I'll get the imperial doctor for you first. Let Xian treat him." "No need." Princess Ning'en looked coldly at a master beside her. "Go and help." The master entered and quickly wrapped Huang Fuxian in a blanket and carried him to the wheelchair. The pale-faced Huang Fuxian was pushed out. Carriage. Princess Ning'en's dagger was pressed against Qin Chuyu's neck. "Ah!" Qin Chuyu screamed and cried. Empress Xiao's heart trembled. She gritted her teeth and said, "Su Qian, prepare a carriage for Princess Ning'en. The kind that Xian can sit on." Eunuch Su went to prepare a special carriage. The master carried Huang Fuxian and the wheelchair onto the carriage. Princess Ning'en also got onto the carriage with Qin Chuyu. "Lian come up," she said. Lian sat on the carriage with tears in her eyes. Ning'en lifted the curtain and said to Empress Xiao, "Don't let anyone follow. I'll cut off one of his fingers every time I see him." The seventh prince was kidnapped? Which city gate did he go out from? Xiao Hang asked Eunuch Qin, who came to report. Eunuch Qin said, according to the city guards, he went out from the west city gate. The west city gate. Xiao Hang got up and searched. Gu Jiao tacitly gave him a map. Xiao Hang nodded. "Thank you." He spread out the map and pointed at the official road outside the west city gate. Greenback Path, Greenback Mountain, Phoenix Pavilion. Their horses should be tired when they reach Phoenix Pavilion. There's a relay station near Phoenix Pavilion. If they want to change horses, they might stop here. Gu Jiao asked, "What if they don't change horses?" Xiao Heng frowned. "If they don't change horses, it will be troublesome." It wasn't difficult to deal with Ning'en. However, she was a crazy woman. If she was forced into a corner, she would really hurt Qin Chuyu. Besides, Huang Fuxian was injured. If they really fought, it would be difficult to guarantee the safety of the two children. It was very dangerous to fight on the road. If they stopped, it would be easier to find flaws. The moon was dark and the wind was strong. A carriage was crazily galloping on the official road outside the West City Gate. There were 9 experts riding fast horses in front and behind the carriage. The expert driving the carriage said, "Princess, we've entered Greenback Mountain. 5 miles ahead is Phoenix Pavilion Relay Station. That's the only relay station in this area. The horses can't run anymore. Should we go to the relay station and change horses?" Qin Chuyu had cried himself to sleep and was held in Lian Er's arms. Princess Ning'en said, "No change horses. Keep going. Someone is waiting for us in front." This meant that they wouldn't stop even if the horses died. "Yes." The expert driving the carriage responded. Cough, cough, cough. Huang Fuxian coughed and slowly opened his eyes. My stomach hurts. I want to go to the toilet. Endure it for a while. I can't endure it. I vomit. Huang Fuxian said and suddenly spat out something. Princess Ning frowned and looked at the filth on the ground with disgust. She said impatiently, Go to the relay station. The carriage stopped at the relay station. Lien, Princess Ning gave Lien, a look. Lien, understood and pushed Huang Fuxian out of the back door of the carriage. The carriage was dirty and had to be cleaned up. Princess Ning woke Qin Chuyu up. Qin Chuyu wanted to cry when he woke up. However, his voice was hoarse from crying and he couldn't cry. They got off the carriage. Princess Ning said to Qin Chuyu, You go to the washroom too. There won't be a place for you to pee on the way. Qin Chuyu had peed several times on the way. Each time, he would use a water bottle to catch it. Princess Ning was almost suffocated. Princess Ning asked an expert to go with the three of them. Young master, I'll help you, the expert said. The washroom outside didn't have any special facilities. Huang Fuxian couldn't use the toilet by himself. Okay. Huang Fuxian didn't refuse. The expert carried Huang Fuxian into the washroom. Lien and Qin Chuyu stood guard in the cold wind. It was unknown whether it was because of the cold or because of fear. Soon, Huang Fuxian's fierce voice came from the washroom. Don't touch me. Don't touch me again. I'll kill you. The experts nearby all shook their heads. Their young master's temperament was so unpredictable. What everyone didn't know was that the fierce shout covered the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground and a painful groan. The expert had already collapsed in the washroom. Huang Fuxian lay on top of him, his face covered in blood. Lien, come in, he said calmly. Hey. Lien, brought Qin Chuyu in. Seeing the scene inside, Lien eyes widened. Qin Chuyu was dumbfounded and screamed, Ah! Fortunately, his throat was already hoarse, so he couldn't make a sound. Young master, what's wrong? Lien quickly squatted down and looked worriedly at Huang Fuxian, whose face and hands were covered in blood. Huang Fuxian grabbed Lien hand tightly and said weakly, Lien, take him away. Lien shook her head in fear. I can't take him away. I don't know the way. I can't outrun them. I can't. Huang Fuxian tried to hold back the dizziness in his head. You can do it, Lien. The people from the palace will be here soon. If you run east, the people from the imperial court will chase after you and you don't want to be discovered, you'll take that path. I'll tell them that you killed this person and that you took Qin Chuyu west. They'll chase after you. So, you have to be quick. What about you, young master? I'm her son. I'll be fine. Hurry up. It'll be too late. Lien tears fell. She gritted her teeth and carried Huang Fuxian on her back. We'll leave together. Huang Fuxian closed his eyes. Leave together. We can't leave. Qin Chuyu ran out with a whoosh. Lien was horrified. She was about to chase after Qin Chuyu when she saw him push the wheelchair in. His legs were shaking, and so were his hands that were pushing the wheelchair. Huang Fuxian sneered weakly. You're so scared of me. You still want to take me away. Aren't you afraid that I'll eat you on the way? Qin Chuyu's teeth chattered as he cried hoarsely. If you really want to eat me, just take a small bite. Don't eat too much. I'm scared of pain. What took you so long? In the carriage that had been cleaned up, Princess Ning pressed her aching forehead. Go and see what happened. An expert went to the washroom in the backyard. The wheelchair was still there. The curtain of the washroom was tightly shut. The expert shouted inside, Are you guys done? No one responded. The expert frowned and walked over with large strides. He lifted the curtain. Princess, they're gone. On the bumpy mountain road, Lien carried Huang Fu-hsien on her back and walked with difficulty. Qin Chuyu followed behind them, panting heavily. Go forward, to the left. To the right. Go forward. Huang Fu-hsien weakly pointed the way for Lien Er. He couldn't hold on any longer. Lien Er asked anxiously, Young master, where should we go now? Go east. Young master. Young master. There. Princess Ning and's experts caught up. Let's go. Lien Er carried Qin Chuyu and randomly chose a mountain road. She ran forward with all her strength. But how could they be a match for those people? When they passed by a wooden bridge, those people used Qinggong to block their way. The way they came was also blocked by a few people. The river under the wooden bridge was turbulent. If they accidentally fell, they would be instantly swept away by the river. An expert shouted sternly, Lien Er, how dare you kidnap the young master? Lien Er looked at the experts on both sides in horror and pretended to be calm. Don't come over. Otherwise, I'll jump down with the young master. How dare you? The expert raised his saber and rushed over to Lien Er. Lien Er was so scared that she didn't dare to move. At the critical moment, a figure so fast that only an afterimage was left in the night. It suddenly appeared behind the expert and kicked him down. He fell into the water and was swept away by the rapid waves without even struggling. These 8 experts were left to Long Yi. Gu Jiao walked towards Lien Er and the other 2 people in the middle of the wooden bridge. Lien Er's eyes became hot. Dr. Gu. She carried Huang Fu-hsien on her back and ran towards Gu Jiao with Qin Chuyu, who knew that there was ice in the gully of the wooden bridge. She accidentally stepped on it and slipped. Her whole body fell out. Gu Jiao reached out to grab her, but she only caught her. Huang Fu-hsien on her back fell out. Gu Jiao almost didn't think. She jumped and tightly hugged Huang Fu-hsien before falling into the turbulent river. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/1085494338. HTML Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 575. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all available here. Huang Fu-hsien woke up to the sound of saliva dripping from his mouth. When he opened his eyes, he found himself lying in an unfamiliar room. The ceiling was simple and crude, and the walls were neither like a palace nor a farmhouse. At the end of the room was a large wardrobe, and next to the wardrobe was a desk. On the opposite side of the bed was a window, through which bright sunlight shone. Perhaps people have a tendency to attract light, so Huang Fu-hsien subconsciously looked in the direction of the light. It was so bright that he had to close his eyes for a moment. Squeak, squeak. The sound of saliva came again. Huang Fu-hsien paused for a moment and let himself adapt to the light. When he opened his eyes again, he saw a cradle near the window. The cradle was originally higher than the bed, but the guardrail around it was hollow, so Huang Fu-hsien could clearly see the baby in the cradle. He was eating his fingers. The squeak-squeak sound came from his mouth. In a strange environment, in a quiet room, because of this little life that didn't cry or make noise, there was a different kind of intimacy and vitality. Suddenly, a young figure stepped in. He looked at Huang Fu-hsien on the bed, who turned his head to look at the cradle. Then, he followed Huang Fu-hsien's gaze and looked at Gu Xiaobao in the cradle. He smiled and walked over to pinch Gu Xiaobao's face. Xiaobao woke up? Gu Xiaobao gave him a small look, then continued to eat his fingers. Why are you so obedient? You don't cry when there's no one around, he said with a smile, then turned to look at Huang Fuxian. His expression was a bit more serious. You're awake too? Huang Fuxian's gaze fell on his face. Song Dafu. Song Dafu was surprised. You know me? Huang Fuxian was still very weak. He nodded his head lightly and said, We came back from the frontier together. I heard someone call you that on the road. Song Dafu suddenly understood. He smiled and said, Ah, so that's the case. You have a good memory. I don't remember anyone calling me that. I'm in the carriage, Huang Fuxian said. Even though they were in a carriage, there were more than 100 people in the medical team. To be able to remember a person's cries just by hearing them, it was enough to show that Huang Fuxian's memory was not ordinary. Maybe it's because I'm more handsome? Huang Fuxian, your square face is easy to recognize. Dr. Song cleared his throat. How do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Huang Fuxian shook his head slightly. Only then did he realize that he wasn't feeling too uncomfortable. The wound still hurt slightly, but it was much better than before. Dr. Song seemed to be aware of his doubts, so he pointed his finger to his leg and explained, Our boss has operated on you. The bone was abraded and the wound was stitched up. Then why don't I feel anything? Ever since he was young, Huang Fuxian had gone through bone grinding countless times. Every time, he was in excruciating pain. Not only was it physical torture, but it was also a mental humiliation. Therefore, this time, he would rather die than suffer such pain. Dr. Song smiled and said, I gave you anesthesia, so of course, you don't feel anything. Does your wound still hurt? It doesn't hurt too much. Huang Fuxian shook his head slightly. Because he was too shocked, he forgot to say, Who asked you to treat me? I don't want to be treated. That's good. Our boss said that if you wake up, you should take the medicine. Dr. Song poured a glass of water and handed him a few anti-inflammatory and hemostatic pills. Huang Fuxian was so confused that he ate it in a daze. After eating, he remembered and asked, Where is this place? Dr. Song said, Blue Water Alley, our boss's house. You know our boss, he is Dr. Gu. Huang Fuxian suddenly remembered that Lien had fallen. He seemed to have fallen off the bridge. He thought he was dead for sure, but in his daze, he vaguely saw a slender figure jump down and pounce on him. With a plop, they fell into the water. He didn't remember what happened after that. He fainted. Huang Fuxian asked, Was it Dr. Gu who brought me back? Dr. Song said, Yes. Speaking of which, you are really lucky. I heard that the river was very turbulent that night. When you fell in, you were washed away by the waves. Fortunately, our boss is a good swimmer. Huang Fuxian lowered his eyes and asked, Where is she? Dr. Song sighed. After she saved you. Huang Fuxian's eyelashes trembled and he looked at him. Dr. Song continued, She went to the clinic. There was a fight in the capital. 7 or 8 people were injured. She was so busy that her feet didn't touch the ground, so she asked me to come and take care of you. Oh. Huang Fuxian's expression loosened slightly. Little brother. You woke up. Little Mushroom came. Dr. Song smiled and said to little Jing Kong, Jing Kong is here? You talk to your little brother for a while. I will take Xiaobao out first. And little Jing Kong nodded. Dr. Song took Gu Xiaobao, who was eating his finger, out. Little Jing Kong came to the bedside and looked at Huang Fuxian with a pair of big black eyes. Little brother, you have slept for 2 days. How do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Huang Fuxian, do all the people here ask the same questions? No. Huang Fuxian said carelessly. Little Jing Kong lay on the edge of the bed and looked at him. Then are you hungry? Huang Fuxian said, No. You are amazing. You haven't eaten for 2 days and you are not hungry. Little Jing Kong pointed to the bed under him and said, You are sleeping on my bed. Is it comfortable? Huang Fuxian said, "Your bed is so hard." Huang Fuxian liked soft beds. Little Jing Kong was used to sleeping on hard beds in the temple. Coincidentally, Xiao Hang also slept on hard beds in the past few years when he was wandering among the common people. Little Jing Kong's small body lay on the bed and his little feet kicked the ground. "Jiao Jiao's bed is very soft, but I can't let you sleep on it. Only I can sleep on Jiao Jiao's bed." Huang Fuxian glanced at him from the corner of his eyes and muttered angrily, "Who wants to sleep on it?" Little Jing Kong suddenly took out a piece of custard from his pouch. "Little brother, do you want to eat this?" Huang Fuxian turned his face. "I don't eat this kind of thing." Little Jing Kong stuffed the custard into his mouth. A mouthful of rich milky fragrance spread between his lips and teeth, accompanied by a light sweetness. Huang Fuxian was suddenly stunned. Little Jing Kong tilted his head and asked, "Is it delicious?" "Jiao Jiao made it." Huang Fuxian didn't say anything and just vaguely said, "Yes." On the other side, Gu Jiao finally finished treating the last patient. She didn't have time to rest and went back to the courtyard to change into night clothes. She was about to go out when she was blocked by Princess Xinyong's carriage at the door. Yujin opened the curtain for Princess Xinyong. Princess Xinyong looked at Gu Jiao indifferently and asked, "Where are you going with this outfit?" "Ahem." A man's cough came from the carriage. "Shut up." Princess Xinyong turned her head and said. Xiao Heng shut his mouth. "Come in," Princess Xinyong said to Gu Jiao. "Oh." Gu Jiao took the red-tasseled spear and got into the carriage. Yujin pursed her lips and smiled. "I'll go get some tea." Then she got out of the carriage. Only Princess Xinyong, Xiao Hang, and Gu Jiao were left in the carriage. Xiao Hang was dressed in casual clothes and was caught by Princess Xinyong halfway. Then Princess Xinyong came to catch Gu Jiao. Princess Xinyong looked at the red-tasseled spear in Gu Jiao's hand with a sullen face. "What? Are you going to destroy that group of people's nest?" Xiao Heng opened his mouth. "Princess Xinyong, I'm not asking you." Xiao Heng shut himself up again. Gu Jiao blinked. "Didn't Princess Ning and run away?" "I'll go catch her." "I'm not here anymore, right? Do I need you to catch her?" "You're so young, yet you worry so much." Princess Xinyong said coldly and reached out to take the red-tasseled spear from Gu Jiao's hand. She tried to grab it, but it didn't budge. She looked embarrassed. I'll do it." Xiao Hang held the red-tasseled spear wrapped in cloth with both hands and took it from his wife and mother. Hiss. It was really heavy. He almost didn't catch it. But he couldn't show his fear in front of his wife and mother. Xiao Heng's expression didn't change as he slowly placed the red-tasseled spear on his lap. "Is it heavy?" Princess Xinyong chuckled. Xiao Heng nonchalantly said, "It's not heavy at all. This carriage is too small. Otherwise, I could show you a few moves." Princess Xinyong snorted coldly and said, "I let her go on purpose that night. I know who I let go. I can't help much in the war, but I'm more than enough to deal with a few remnants. You just wait at home." Gu Jiao said, "The people of Yen seem to have a way to deal with the dragon shadow guards." Princess Xinyong grunted, "I know, don't worry." Xiao Heng didn't move. Since he didn't move, Gu Jiao also didn't move. Princess Xinyong said to Xiao Heng, "What are you standing there for? Why aren't you getting off?" Xiao Heng smiled, "I just want to spend more time with you." Princess Xinyong said to Gu Jiao, "He can't carry it anymore." Xiao Heng. How could she expose her son like this? Gu Jiao curved her lips and got off the carriage with the red-tasseled spear. After Princess Xinyong left, Gu Jiao asked Xiao Heng, "I really don't need to go?" Xiao Heng shook his head. "No, she has 4 dragon shadow guards in addition to Long Yi. That's enough to catch Ning, and Princess Xinyong didn't let Ningen go because she wanted to know the whereabouts of the people of Yen. Little Nine had already tracked them down. Princess Xinyong wanted to know what other cards Ningen had. Princess Xinyong sent 2 dragon shadow guards and a secret guard from the princess mansion to keep an eye on Ning and was very vigilant. She circled around the mountain forest for a day and a night before entering a seemingly unremarkable cave. After that, she arrived at a secret camp that looked like a peach forest. There were a total of 100 experts in the camp. This should be the nest that Imperial concubine Jing left for Ning, and Princess Xinyang took Long Yi, 4 dragon shadow guards, and a group of secret guards from the princess mansion to kill their way into the camp and capture Ning En. In addition, they found a small box in the secret room. "Open it," Princess Xinyang said to Ning En sneered, "Open it yourself." Princess Xinyang looked at the wooden box on the table. "You think I can't break it open?" Ning En provoked, "Go ahead." "It seems you can't break it open casually," Princess Xinyang said to the secret guard. "Take the box back and open it with a key." Princess Ning An's expression changed. Princess Xinyang laughed. "Your key has been remade. Are you surprised?" Princess Ning An's eyes were full of surprise. "You?" Princess Xinyang said, "Take her back. Don't put her under house arrest. Just throw her into prison." Ning An threatened, "You dare? I'm a princess." "What a coincidence, so am I." Princess Xinyang looked down at Ning En, who was kneeling on the ground by the dragon shadow guards. "You better not try to escape this time, or I'll break your legs." What Long Yi heard was, "Ha ha ha, I'll break your legs." Long Yi rushed over and broke Ning An's legs. Ning En. Princess Xinyang. This time, Princess Xinyang didn't take her back to the palace. Instead, she locked her up in the Supreme Court's prison. Afterwards, she took the small box to Jadewater Alley. The key that Gu Jiao had made from the mold had been completed. It could really open the box. After opening it, they found that this seemingly simple wooden box actually had a very complicated mechanism. If they forcefully broke it open or pried it open, the mechanism would destroy the contents of the box. "Let's see what Imperial concubine Jing left for Ning En," Gu Jiao said. "Okay." Xiao Hang took out the contents of the box. There were several account books, which recorded Imperial concubine Jing's dealings with some of the court officials over the years. These officials are the contacts Imperial concubine Jing left for Ning En. Princess Xinyang paused, then continued, "These account books are very important. With them, we can threaten those officials." Xiaoheng flipped down and said, "There's also a treasure map." Gu Jiao made a sound of surprise. "There's really a treasure map?" Xiaoheng looked at Gu Jiao in amusement. "It's a lie. It's banknotes. Roughly calculating, there's a few 100,000 taels." Gu Jiao's eyes lit up. Princess Xinyang took in all of Gu Jiao's little eyes and helplessly rubbed her forehead. "Minister Xing and the others can overturn the verdict." Xiaoheng nodded. "That's right. We've already gotten what we wanted. There's no need to worry about anything else." Princess Xinyang stood up. "It's time for Ning An's crimes to be announced to the world." "Princess." Yujin came to the door and reported, "His Majesty is awake." The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964285285002. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 576. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. Marquis Ding and Fu. Gu Chengfeng had just finished bathing and was covered in sweat. It was reasonable to say that he should be very hot, but he inexplicably shivered. "What's wrong?" Gu Chenglin asked him. Gu Chengfeng scratched his head strangely. I don't know. I suddenly felt a chill down my spine. The emperor was awake, so Princess Xinyang naturally had to enter the palace to see him. Xiao Hang and Gu Jiao also stood up. Princess Xinyang looked at the two and indifferently said, You two don't need to go. Stay at home and wait for news. After doing so many things and even forging an imperial edict, who knew what the emperor was thinking? Would he vent his anger on them? Princess Xinyang decided to take the lead and wait until she was certain that the front was safe before calling the two little ones into the palace. Princess Xinyang took Eugene and sat in the carriage. Xiao Hang accompanied her to the door and asked, You're not bringing Long Yi? Princess Xinyang indifferently said, I'm not bringing him. I always listen half the time. The emperor had been unconscious for a few days and his face was very pale. When Princess Xinyang arrived at Pure Flower's palace, Empress Xiao had just fed the emperor some porridge. The emperor said to Empress Xiao, Zhan is fine here. Go take care of little Qi. Zhan has something to say to Xinyang. Chen Xie will withdraw. Empress Xiao put down the bowl of porridge and walked out. Princess Xinyang slightly bowed to Empress Xiao. The emperor's entire body was sore and weak. He didn't even have the strength to raise his arm. He sighed and ordered Eunuch Wei and the others, All of you withdraw. Yes. Eunuch Wei secretly glanced at Princess Xinyang. Strange, did she shave her hand hair today? He couldn't see her Adam's apple. The rash on her face had completely disappeared. Eunuch Wei secretly muttered as he swept his gaze over Princess Xinyang's clothes. Yu Jin's eyes darkened. Eunuch Wei. Eunuch Wei acted as if he had been hit in the head and quickly rolled out. What's wrong? Princess Xinyang asked. Eugene wanted to speak but hesitated. It was mainly because she found it difficult to speak. Eugene said softly, Forget it, I'll tell Princess later. Princess, please see His Majesty first. Princess Xinyang came before the dragon bed and bowed slightly. Your Majesty. This was the difference between Princess Xinyang and Princess Ning En. Princess Xinyang would never call him Imperial Brother. Even when he was a prince, Princess Xinyang would always call him Sixth Prince. The Emperor glanced at the stool beside him and said, Sit down. Thank you, Your Majesty. Princess Xinyang sat down. Eugen stood guard behind her. Even the Emperor had dismissed the palace servants. Logically speaking, Princess Xinyang should have dismissed Eugen as well. Princess Xinyang did not do so because she was not used to being alone with a man, except for Xiao Hang and Long Yi. The Emperor did not know her habits, but he did not care about her and kept Eugene. Princess Xinyang said, The imperial physician said that His Majesty would be unconscious for a few more days. I didn't expect him to wake up so soon. The Emperor gritted his teeth. It's all thanks to that Gu brat. What? Princess Xinyang didn't understand. Nothing. The Emperor coughed lightly and said, I know almost everything that has happened in the palace recently. The Empress also told me about Lu Lang. Princess Xinyang looked at the Emperor. Since Your Majesty knows, what do you plan to do? The Emperor sighed with a complicated expression and said, I won't pursue the matter of the forged imperial edict. Princess Xinyang frowned. Won't pursue the matter? The Emperor nodded and said earnestly, That's right, I won't pursue the matter. I won't pursue the matter of her scheming. After all, no matter what, she is still my. Your Majesty, what is that? Princess Xinyang interrupted him and pointed behind the Emperor. The Emperor turned his head to look. Princess Xinyang suddenly grabbed the jade pillow on the dragon bed and knocked the Emperor unconscious. Eugen was shocked. Princess, why did you knock His Majesty unconscious? Princess Xinyang said angrily, If I didn't knock His Majesty unconscious, would I be waiting for His Majesty to pardon that woman? She did so many crazy things, and His Majesty actually didn't pursue the matter. Why don't I deal with her first? Kill first and report later. After that, His Majesty can do whatever he wants with her. Princess, what do you want to say? Princess Xinyang asked. Yujin said embarrassedly. I think His Majesty wasn't talking about her, but him. Yujin took her hand and wrote his name on her palm. Princess Xinyang said strangely, him? Yujin said, yes. Think about it, before you asked His Majesty what he planned to do, what did he say? Princess Xinyang recalled, he pretty much knows everything that has happened in the palace recently. The Empress also told him about Lu Lang, Yujin said. What else could it be about Lu Lang? The young duke's background. The forged imperial edict that His Majesty was talking about was that the young duke forged an imperial edict for you to govern the country, and had someone pretend to be you to enter the palace, as well as secretly plotting some actions. His Majesty said that he wouldn't pursue the young duke's actions. Princess Xinyang was afraid of ropes after being bitten once. The emperor was bewitched by that pair of mother and daughter. She had already lost her basic confidence in His Majesty, so she thought he said he wouldn't pursue Ning En. Princess Xinyang looked at the emperor, who had fainted from her pillow, and her teeth ached. I was too careless. The prison was a place to imprison felons. It was heavily guarded and filled with traps. In the most heavily guarded cell, Ning En, whose legs had been broken, grabbed onto a dirty wooden board and screamed at the top of her lungs, "Let me out! I want to see His Majesty. I want to see the Empress Dowager. I'm His Majesty's most beloved sister. If His Majesty and the Empress Dowager find out, they'll definitely sentence you to death." The jailers were as cold as iron. Not a single one moved. She grabbed a steamed bun that was brought in and threw it at one of the jailers. The steamed bun had long turned into stone. It hit the jailer's back, but he didn't move. Are you all dead? I'm Princess Ning En. I want to see His Majesty. I want to see His Majesty. His Majesty won't come to see you. Give up. A majestic and domineering voice slowly sounded from the other end of the corridor. The narrow cell was instantly filled with an aura that made people submit. The jailers bowed in unison. Princess Ning En stared blankly at Empress Dowager Zhuang, who was dressed in a black and gold phoenix robe, walking towards her with a cold expression. Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at her, who was covered in blood. There was no trace of pity in her eyes. Princess Ning An's heart thumped. Mother, Empress Dowager Zhuang said expressionlessly, I said before, don't call me mother. Ning En felt wronged. Mother. I'm your Ning En. If I don't call you mother, what should I call you? Empress Dowager Zhuang said indifferently, forget it. If you want to call me that, then call me that. You won't be able to call me that for long anyway. Ning En raised her head with tears in her eyes. Mother, what do you mean by that? Empress Dowager Zhuang looked down at her. You're so smart. How could you not understand what I mean? Ning En cried. Imperial Mother. Xinyang harmed me. They all harmed me. Empress Dowager Zhuang said coldly, what did they do to you? Did they cause you to betray the prince consort and return to the capital for revenge? Did they cause you to take over concubine Jing's power and collude with the people of Yen to harm the meritorious officials of Zhao? Or did they cause you to assassinate His Majesty and frame me for it? A trace of panic flashed through Ning An's eyes. Mother, don't believe them. Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at her coldly. You don't have to pretend to be innocent. I didn't come here to hear you admit the truth. I don't care whether you admit it or not. If I say you're guilty, then you're guilty. Ning En gritted her teeth and complained in a choked voice. Mother, you're biased. Mother wasn't like this before. Mother used to love Ning En the most. Since that girl appeared, Mother doesn't care about Ning En anymore. Empress Dowager Zhuang said seriously, so what if I'm biased? Do I need your permission? Ning An's mouth trembled. She never expected Empress Dowager Zhuang to be so direct, so magnanimous, and so merciless. Ning An's tears fell down. But mother, I'm your Ning En. Empress Dowager Zhuang looked at her coldly and asked word by word, are you really Ning En? Princess Ning An's pupils shrank. Gu Jiao didn't need to go to the palace. After coming out of the medical center, she went back to Jadewater Alley with Xiao Hang. Huang Fuxian woke up and was sitting in a wheelchair in the West Room in a daze. Little Jing Kong secretly glanced at him several times. What's wrong with him? Gu Jiao stood in the front yard and looked at Huang Fuxian through the half-open window. Little Jing Kong sighed like a little adult. Little brother misses his mother. His mother doesn't treat him well and even hit him. But he's still worried about his mother. I just thought that if Jiao Jiao hit me, I'd still like Jiao Jiao. If Ning was convicted, Huang Fuxian would be the one who would suffer the most. I'll go and see him. Xiaohing said. Forget it. I'll go and see his injury. Gu Jiao handed little Jing Kong to Xiaohang and stepped into the West Room. The sun had already set and the West Room was dark. Gu Jiao took out a match. Don't light the lamp, Huang Fuxian said. Digression. Asking for a guaranteed monthly ticket for little Xian. Moi, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/1085274440. HTML Genius memorized the website address www.zhbqg.com. Biku mobile reading website zhbqg.com. Chapter 577. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Gu Jiao put away the torch and slowly came to Huang Fuxian's side. At this moment, Huang Fuxian seemed to be sitting there calmly. Little did he know that he had gone through a hair-raising rescue. His broken limbs were already injured, and after soaking in the river, a large area of the wound had festered. Jing Kong said that he had slept for 2 days, but that was because Jing Kong had only seen him sleep for 2 days after he moved here. Before that, it took 3 days to rescue him in the clinic and wait for him to pass the critical period. Does it still hurt? Gu Jiao asked. You're wound. Huang Fuxian paused. He wanted to say that it didn't hurt, but he hesitated and said truthfully, a little. There was a slightly choked nasal sound. Gu Jiao pretended that she didn't hear it. Let me see. It was dark now, and there was no light in the room, so she couldn't see anything. Huang Fuxian didn't refuse. Gu Jiao pulled up his trousers. Huang Fuxian was not used to it, but he tried his best to resist. Anyway, he couldn't see. That was what he thought. Unexpectedly, Gu Jiao took out a small flashlight from a small medicine box from her pocket and turned it on. Huang Fuxian's expression changed. Didn't I tell you not to use the light? Gu Jiao said, this is not an oil lamp, it's a flashlight. This is called turning on the flashlight. Huang Fuxian was speechless. Huang Fuxian wanted to say that she was cheating, but then he was attracted by the little thing that could shine. Where did this luminous pearl come from? Huang Fuxian had seen things that could shine other than fire and luminous pearls, but they were not as bright as this. Do you want to know? Gu Jiao asked. No. Huang Fuxian stubbornly turned his face away. Gu Jiao smiled and knelt down on one knee. She held the flashlight with one hand and unwrapped his gauze with the other. Huang Fuxian suddenly grabbed her hand and said while holding his breath, very ugly. Gu Jiao looked up and stared into his eyes. Her gaze was as pure and clean as little Jing Kong's, without a trace of disdain. However, compared to the naivety of little Jing Kong, there was a hint of convincing calmness in her eyes. Huang Fuxian's eyelashes fluttered as he slowly released his grip. Gu Jiao removed the layers of gauze, revealing the wound that she had stitched up. The recovery is pretty good. There is no postoperative infection, but you still need to take your medicine on time. After Gu Jiao finished speaking, she went back to the east room to get a small medicine box and carefully changed the medicine for him. "You're not in too much pain, so I won't give you painkillers." Huang Fuxian replied gloomily. Gu Jiao finished bandaging him and started to clean up the medical supplies. "What happened to that little fatty?" Huang Fuxian suddenly spoke. Gu Jiao said, "Are you talking about Qin Chuyu? He went back to the palace. Lian is also there. The Empress has something to ask her, so she won't make things difficult for her. What happened that night was dangerous. After she and Huang Fuxian fell into the water, she stabbed the dagger into a rock in the middle of the river. Long Yi killed those men in black in a few seconds and flew down to pull her and Huang Fuxian out of the water. After that, they went back to the capital together." Huang Fuxian turned his head and his gaze fell on her chin. He didn't see it when she was squatting. Now that she stood up, the stitched wound was exposed to Huang Fuxian's sight. Huang Fuxian was stunned. "Your chin." Gu Jiao didn't care and said, "I scraped it." The wound was on the inside of her chin and was very hidden. Huang Fuxian had sharp eyes, otherwise, he wouldn't have seen it. Huang Fuxian looked down and pinched his trousers with his fingertips. "Did you hit it underwater?" Gu Jiao faintly replied, The water splashed in the night and she couldn't see clearly. Only when her chin was scraped did Gu Jiao realize that there was a rock there. Huang Fuxian said, "It's not worth it for someone like me." Gu Jiao didn't say anything and continued to busy herself with the work at hand. The room was very quiet. From time to time, the sound of fireworks could be heard coming from next door and the front yard. Xiao Ba was gnawing on Gu Yan's shoes again. Xiao Zhou was with it. The other 7 chickens obediently returned to their cages. Next door, Uncle Zhao was scolding his youngest son. In the alley, Aunt Lu was chasing geese. Granny Zhou's family was frying smelly mandarin fish again. The stench drifted here. Huang Fuxian looked at Gu Jiao's busy little figure again. He didn't know why, but he suddenly had a strange feeling in his heart. "When I was young, she was very good to me." When Gu Jiao finished cleaning, Huang Fuxian spoke again. "She always took me out to play. She would cook good food for me. She would also carry me on her back when she went to help the victims. In my memory, the most I did was lie on her back with her, giving porridge and herding goats with her. Is life at the frontier so hard?" Gu Jiao had been to the frontier before. Naturally, she knew that the people there were very poor. She also heard that Princess Ning and didn't have any royal baggage and suffered with the people. But didn't this expose Ning An's true colors? It couldn't help but make people suspect that the so-called suffering was just a show. "I don't think it's hard," Huang Fuxian said. "That's true," Gu Jiao said. When they were so poor in the countryside, Jing Kong never complained about the hardships at home. Sometimes, what a child wanted was very simple. Huang Fuxian looked at the obscure and boundless night sky. But then everything changed. Gu Jiao looked at him. Huang Fuxian's eyes were fixed on the brightest star in the night sky, as if he was reminiscing some distant memory. Since my legs were broken, she seemed to be a different person. She didn't dare to get close to me anymore. She didn't like to carry me, hug me, or let me sleep with her. She said that she was afraid of pressing on my wounds. I was only 5 years old at the time. I didn't understand. As I grew older, I realized that she wasn't afraid. She was disgusted. She hated my broken body. She hated that I could no longer be a normal child. She didn't even want to be with me. Every time I was grinding my bones, I hoped that she could be by my side. She didn't need to hug me. She just needed to hold my hand. But she didn't. Not even once. Gu Jiao seemed to understand. A large part of Huang Fuxian's disgust for himself came from his parents, especially Princess Ning An's disgust. It destroyed all his self-esteem and confidence. Compared to taking away his legs, Princess Ning An's various kinds of violence caused a devastating blow to him. Why didn't his mother love him? Was it because he didn't have legs? Then what was the meaning of his life? Gu Jiao looked at him and said, she treated you like this. Do you still feel sad for her? Huang Fuxian was silent for a moment before he said in a low voice, "She is my mother." In the dark prison, Empress Dowager Zhuang stood in the corridor with a calm expression. She didn't take a step closer. Eunuch Qin had already taken the bailiffs to another place, leaving only a few trusted subordinates to guard. Empress Dowager Zhuang said, "Tell me, when did you become Ningen?" Most people in the world couldn't tear down their face and break the window paper. But Empress Dowager Zhuang wasn't like this. She didn't have a trace of indecisiveness. If she wanted to say something, she would say it directly. Ningen lay on the ground, raised her head, and looked at Empress Dowager Zhuang with a faint smile. "I am Ningen, mother." Empress Dowager Zhuang said coldly, "At this point, you still won't admit it." Ningen looked surprised. "What do I have to admit? I am Ningen. Ningen is me. Has mother become muddle-headed? You don't even remember the daughter you raised? If mother has changed your mind, just say it. If you don't love Ningen, just say it. Why do you have to use this method to humiliate Ningen?" Empress Dowager Zhuang wasn't angered by her. She just looked at her condescendingly, as if she was looking at the last struggle of an ant. Ningen laughed under Empress Dowager Zhuang's gaze. She laughed until her shoulders trembled. "Mother, your ability to frame people hasn't changed at all. You framed my mother like this, and now you're framing me." Empress Dowager Zhuang didn't argue with her. She just let her laugh and talk to herself. Ningen's every punch seemed to hit cotton. She grabbed the wooden board of the cell and squeezed her cheek tightly in the gap between the boards. "Mother said I'm not Ningen. Do you have evidence? Mother, look at my face. Isn't it Ningen's face?" "Pa." Empress Dowager Zhuang threw a stack of letters on the corridor in front of Ning, and Ningen's gaze moved down. She slowly reached out and took the letters through the gap of the cell door. Using the dim light in the corridor, she carefully read them. Every time she read a page, her face changed a bit. Halfway through, she suddenly tore up the letters like crazy. "Nonsense. Nonsense. It's all nonsense. I am Ningen. I am Ningen." She was so emotional that the veins on her forehead popped out. Empress Dowager Zhuang glanced at her and said neither quickly nor slowly, "Well, why don't I tell you a story? Where should I start? Why don't I start with the experience of a daughter of an aristocratic family? This daughter of an aristocratic family was intelligent and courageous since she was young. She was also born with a good appearance. However, her birth mother wasn't favored. She was also repeatedly bullied by her concubine-born sisters at home. Once, on the way to the temple to burn incense, she happened to meet a master. The master and she felt like old friends at first sight. After a few exchanges, they became close friends. After a year of contact, the master successfully convinced a friend to join a civil organization called the Red Lotus Society. The Red Lotus Society was actually another identity of the remnants of the previous dynasty. This daughter unsurprisingly became a death warrior of the remnants of the previous dynasty. She was ordered to enter the palace to get close to the emperor. Her initial goal was to become the empress or the most favored concubine of the emperor. She wanted to give birth to the emperor's son, support him as the crown prince, and then take the emperor's life. In this way, the country fell into the hands of the remnants of the previous dynasty. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. She didn't become the empress or the favored concubine. Even the emperor didn't like her very much. She could only cling to the empress's thigh. The empress painfully lost a daughter. It was also a coincidence that she was pregnant only 1 month later than the empress. Thus, she had a plan and secretly prepared a medicine to induce labor so that the child would be born prematurely and on the same day as the empress child. However, no one knew that in her stomach there was another child. They were only separated by 2 hours, but they were born 2 days after each other. 2 children never cry together. After the elder sister cries, the younger sister cries. After the younger sister cries, the elder sister cries. To outsiders, it sounds like there was only one child crying. The midwife who delivered the babies was her trusted aide. To be exact, she was a trusted aide arranged by that expert. The fate of these two children was determined from the moment they were born. One stayed in the palace, and the other was carried out. They would be two perfect chess pieces, even more perfect than the Empress. However, who stayed in the palace to be the princess, and who was carried out to be the death warrior? The Empress kept the elder sister, who was born first, because the child was already lying in her arms and had her first sip of milk. She couldn't let go of the child. She didn't even look at the other child and cruelly had someone carry her out. Ning uncovered her ears. Don't say it, don't say it. Everyone said that the Empress loved the little princess because she was born on the same day as her daughter, as if her daughter was reincarnated. However, the Empress loved her because she was indeed a beautiful and cute child. It had nothing to do with the so-called birthday. That child was lively and active. She seemed to be fearless, but in fact, she was afraid of this and that. She was simply a paper tiger. She was afraid of the dark, very, very afraid. However, sometimes, she didn't seem to be afraid. She liked to eat chestnuts, but occasionally she would hate them. The Empress only thought that she was a child and didn't take it to heart. The Empress loved the child, but do you know when the Empress truly decided to live up to the child for the rest of her life? Ning subconsciously pricked up her ears. Empress Dowager Zhuang said, "It was one night when the Empress was banished to the cold palace. The Empress fell ill and no imperial doctor dared to come and treat her. That night, lightning flashed and thunder roared. The Empress lay alone on the bed in the cold palace and felt that she might die like this. However, at this time, a thin figure climbed over the wall of the cold palace and came in. She pushed open the door and the thunder and lightning chased after her. Her thin figure could be blown down by the wind at any time, but she was not afraid. She rushed into the room and threw herself into the Empress's arms. She said to the Empress, "Mother, I've come to see you. Mother, don't be afraid. Ning An will be with you." Ning An's body suddenly stopped. Empress Dowager Zhuang's eyes flashed with memories. It was at that time that the child ran for her in the thunder and lightning. The child's hand was pierced when she climbed over the wall. The child fell many times on the road and the child's knees were bruised. The Empress said to herself that she would love her for a lifetime. Ning An's eyes widened in disbelief. That child, even if it's just once, tell the Empress. She is not Ning An, she is Ning An's sister. Empress Dowager Zhuang choked and clenched her fingers under her wide sleeves. Ning An's eyes gradually filled with tears as she stared blankly at Empress Dowager Zhuang. Empress Dowager Zhuang took a deep breath, raised her head, turned around, and looked at the dim corridor. The Empress will save her and love her. She will never have to live in Ning An's shadow. Mother. Ning An's tears burst out of her eyes as she rushed over and grabbed the corner of Empress Dowager Zhuang's clothes. Empress Dowager Zhuang walked to the exit expressionlessly. A drop of hot tear fell, but she did not turn back once. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/1085063363. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 578. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that cannot be found on the internet here. Mother, 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 I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Please give me another chance. Mother. I gave you a chance. From the day you came back, I knew you were not Ning, and Aijia also knows that Aijia's Ning and will most likely not come back. Aijia's tear was for Ning En. That night, you went to the nunnery. I only thought that you went to remember your mother. You are her flesh and blood. It is understandable that you miss her. I have no objection. You once gave me warmth when I needed it the most. I feel that as long as you did not kill Ning En, as long as you sincerely came back to be a princess, then I can accept you. But why did you do this to my Jiao Jiao? Why did you collude with the people of Yen? Why did you hurt Lu Lang? Why did you do so many unforgivable things? Empress Dowager Zhuang sat in the carriage to go back. Eunuch Qin was originally sitting outside. Seeing that Empress Dowager Zhuang was not in a good mood, he thought about it and boldly sat inside. Eunuch Qin looked at Empress Dowager Zhuang. Empress Dowager. Empress Dowager Zhuang pinched her sore eyebrows. What do you want to say? Nothing. Eunuch Qin instinctively denied. To be honest, he was still digesting it. Those letters were sent back to the capital by Gu Chongqing on an 800-mile express official plate. They had just arrived this morning. When they arrived, he did not read them. It was the Empress Dowager who sorted them out herself. So, it was actually the first time he heard such a shocking truth. I feel that my brain is not enough. Eunuch Qin said embarrassedly. Empress Dowager Zhuang said lightly, if you want to ask, ask. Don't be so wishy-washy. Yes. Eunuch Qin laughed dryly. When Princess Ning En was young, she was afraid of the dark for a while and then not. Are they two different people? Empress Dowager Zhuang closed her eyes. Yes. Eunuch Qin sucked in a breath of cold air weakly. She has already left the palace. How did she get in? Empress Dowager Zhuang said lightly, her mother is an imperial concubine. Is it difficult to get a child in? It's not like she's living in the palace all year round. She just comes over occasionally to let them reunite. That's true. Eunuch Qin suddenly understood. Does Princess Ning En know about this? Empress Dowager Zhuang pondered for a moment and shook her head. I don't think so. With Ning En's personality, she would not be able to hide it. At least, she would not hide it from her and the emperor. What was the child thinking at that time? Seeing the carefree Ning En, she made a request to concubine Jing, Mother, I want to be a princess too. Thus, old concubine Jing changed her into Ning En's clothes and had her pretend to be Ning En. She wanted her to be the princess for a day, half a day, or even 2 hours. After that, she returned to her own place. Eunuch Qin sighed. Now that you think about it, she is quite pitiful. Just because she was born 2 hours later than her sister, the difference between them is like heaven and earth. This servant is not a death warrior, so I don't know what kind of life a death warrior has, but I don't think she enjoys as much as a princess. Empress Dowager Zhuang said, compared to a princess? She's far worse than a commoner. The hardships of a death warrior were not something that ordinary people could bear. That's even worse. Eunuch Qin sighed and said, Then the one who married to the frontier fortress was the real Princess Ning En, right? Empress Dowager Zhuang sighed. It was her. Perhaps it was then that they began to plan for her sister to replace Ning En. It was hard to say whether old concubine Jing had feelings for Ning En. Perhaps she did, but it was just that she was selfish. The carriage began to move slowly. Empress Dowager Zhuang leaned against the wall of the carriage, and Eunuch Qin quickly put a pillow for her. Empress Dowager Zhuang recalled, after old concubine Jing died, I once interrogated Nanny Kai, and Nanny Kai said something to me. Eunuch Qin asked, what did she say? Empress Dowager Zhuang said, after the emperor and old concubine Jing fell out, old concubine Jing planned to take out the imperial edict and die with me. Nanny Kai begged her not to be impulsive and asked her to think for Ning En. She said that she had Ning En as well as His Majesty. Her expression was not right at that time, and her words were also strange. She replied to Nanny Kai, Ning En will never come back in this lifetime. She will never come back. I thought the same as Nanny Kai. I thought that old concubine Jing said that Ning An would never come back because of what I said to Ning An in a fit of anger. I said that if Ning An dared to marry to the frontier fortress, she would never be allowed to come back in this lifetime. Eunuch Qin hurriedly nodded. This old servant remembers that you did say that. This old servant even tried to persuade you at that time. Empress Dowager Zhuang sighed again. So, I didn't suspect anything at that time. Nanny Kai never had any contact with that child, so she naturally didn't suspect anything. Eunuch Qin clicked his tongue and said, No one would suspect anything. Who would have thought that old concubine Jing gave birth to Ning An and hid another one? Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. How could she be willing to give up her own flesh and blood to become a suicide soldier? Empress Dowager Zhuang said coldly, There are all kinds of people in this world. Eunuch Qin nodded. That's true. Empress Dowager Zhuang said regretfully, That child didn't appear in the palace many times. After she turned 10, she never appeared in front of me again. If she appears a few more times, perhaps I'll be able to discover something. Pure Flowers Palace. The emperor, who had been knocked unconscious by Princess Xinyong's pillow, finally woke up again. When he opened his eyes, he saw Princess Xinyong standing guard by his bedside. His first reaction was to quickly cover his head with his hands. Princess Xinyong had knocked the emperor unconscious, so there was no way she could escape. Unless she killed the emperor, he would definitely pursue her crimes. But killing him would be troublesome. First, it would be difficult to dispose of the corpse. Second, she was currently in the position of regent. Now that the emperor had passed away and the crown prince had ascended the throne, she was worried that she would continue to be regent. This was very annoying. The emperor looked at the conflicted Princess Xinyong. Why did he feel so uneasy? Ahem. The emperor cleared his throat and calmly put down his hands, pretending that the cowardly scene just now had never happened. Princess Xinyong stood up. The emperor once again covered his head with his hands. Princess Xinyong, then, I'll kneel and admit my wrongs. After the emperor reacted, he flew into a rage out of humiliation and sternly shouted, Sit down. Don't move. Fine, I'll sit down. It was you who didn't allow me to kneel. Princess Xinyong sat down on a stool. Princess Xinyong didn't know martial arts, but after being together with Long Yi for a long time, honestly speaking, she had a murderous aura. Not to mention, she originally had the aura of an imperial sister. That pillow directly left a deep shadow in the depths of the emperor's heart. Eugene had already been dismissed. The emperor composed himself and sat up straight. He sternly said, Wei Quan, get in here. Yes. Eunuch Wei hurriedly walked in. What happened to your face? The emperor looked strangely at the bruised and swollen face of Eunuch Wei. Eunuch Wei lowered his head and said, I fell. He was beaten by Eugene. When the emperor was unconscious, he came in once. He sized up Princess Xinyong's Adam's apple, the hair on her hands, and other places. When he left, he was beaten by Eugene for being a pervert. Xinyong is guilty. Your Majesty, please punish me. Princess Xinyong took the initiative to admit her wrongs. You've got guts. The emperor slapped the jade pillow. His entire hand was numb. At your disposal, Your Majesty. Please immediately remove me from the position of regent. The emperor unhappily said, I haven't thought of how to deal with you yet. Leave it for now. Oh. Princess Xinyong looked disappointed. The emperor was speechless. The emperor coldly said, Why did you knock me out? I thought you wanted to kill the emperor. Princess Xinyong truthfully said, I misunderstood Your Majesty. I thought Your Majesty wanted to protect Ning and I want to protect her. The emperor was furious. When did he say he wanted to protect Ning An? The emperor coldly glared at Princess Xinyong. Normally, she always acted like an imperial sister. It was rare for her to act like one. This feeling was quite good. The emperor cleared his throat. Did you enter the palace today to ask me something? I didn't. Princess Xinyang glanced at the emperor, whose forehead was swollen like a pig's head. Forget it, I can have it. Princess Xinyang racked her brain for a moment and asked, Why did Princess Ning want to assassinate your majesty? The emperor said, I saw the confession letter and knew that she was the one behind the incident at Immortal Music House. Princess Xinyang gave the emperor a meaningful look. Your majesty believed it? The emperor lightly coughed and said, I didn't believe it at first, but she suddenly killed herself by hitting a pillar to prove her innocence. That scene reminded me of something that had long been forgotten. That was many years ago. You and Ning had not yet married. The previous emperor was seriously ill. I went to visit the previous emperor and found that there were 2 Ning ans there. One Ning pushed the other Ning an, causing her forehead to be seriously injured. She bled a lot, just like that day in the imperial study. 2 Ning ans. Princess Xinyang frowned. The emperor's expression became complicated. That was the first time I saw 2 Ning ans. I was scared out of my wits and thought I had seen a ghost. It was then that concubine Jing appeared. Concubine Jing brought me back to my chambers and told me not to tell anyone what I saw. I asked Concubine Jing what was going on and why there were 2 Ning ans. If she didn't tell me the truth, I would go find Imperial Father. Concubine Jing told me that Ning had a younger sister. Unfortunately, she was born without any breath. She thought it was a stillborn and was worried that Imperial Father would be unhappy, so she had the midwife secretly take the child out of the palace and bury it. But on the way out of the palace, the child came back to life. It was already announced that there was only one child. If she brought the child back, it would be revealed that she took out the stillborn and buried it. Imperial Father would definitely be angry, so she could only secretly raise the child outside the palace. Your Majesty didn't believe it, did you? It was obvious that this story was fake. The Emperor fiercely said, Of course I don't believe it. Princess Xinyang curled her lips. You do believe it. The Ning who pushed her is the younger sister? Princess Xinyang asked. How do you know everything? The Emperor looked at Princess Xinyang in surprise. Princess Xinyang didn't say that even an idiot could guess. If there was a kind Ning and a demon Ning in this world, then the one who grew up with them would definitely be the kind Ning and then. Princess Xinyang looked at the Emperor. After that, Concubine Jing begged me to keep it a secret. The Emperor paused. Princess Xinyang continued, But your Majesty was close to the Empress Dowager, as if they were mother and son. Your Majesty would definitely tell the Empress Dowager. The Emperor didn't deny it. He knew his personality well. Even if he promised Concubine Jing that he wouldn't tell anyone, he would definitely tell Imperial Mother afterward. The Empress Dowager definitely wouldn't believe the story Concubine Jing made up. She would have sensed that something was wrong. Princess Xinyang combined what had happened and said, So, Concubine Jing wanted your Majesty and the Empress Dowager to break off their relationship. But she was afraid that the break wouldn't be thorough enough, so she gave your Majesty medicine so that your Majesty would listen to her. Under the effects of the medicine, your Majesty naturally forgot everything that might affect your relationship with your son. The Emperor sighed and nodded. That's right. Princess Xinyang suddenly understood. Then everything makes sense. The Emperor continued, That accident in the Imperial study reminded me of what I saw in the previous Emperor's chambers. I immediately concluded that she was another Ning an, not the one who grew up with me. So that's how it was. She was wondering how a mere confession could affect the relationship between His Majesty and Ning, and Princess Xinyang asked seriously, How does your Majesty plan to deal with her? The Emperor said seriously, She's not Ning an. I won't let her off. That's more like it. Princess Xinyang slowly got up. It's getting late. Xinyang will take her leave. Xinyang. The Emperor suddenly called out to her. HM? Princess Xinyang looked at the Emperor in confusion. The Emperor hesitated for a moment, then said with difficulty, Do you think Ning an is still alive? Princess Xinyang didn't say anything. She bowed slightly and turned to leave. The latest chapter of this book isn't finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/10850595. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 579. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Princess Xinyang left the palace and sat in her carriage. Eugene asked, "Princess, do you want to go to Vermilion Bird Avenue?" Princess Xinyang thought for a moment, then said, "Let's go to Jadewater Alley." When the carriage arrived at Jadewater Alley, Gu Jiao and Xiao Hang were plowing the ground in the front yard. The two of them held hoes and did a decent job. They really did look like a young farmer couple. Princess Xinyang walked over. "Mother." Xiao Hang saw her and greeted her. Gu Jiao called her princess. Princess Xinyang glanced at a certain person, not satisfied with this form of address. Xiao Hang smiled and grabbed Princess Xinyang's hand. "Mother, why are you here?" "I won't bully your wife." Princess Xinyang glared at him and slapped his hand away. She asked the two of them, "Has the Empress Dowager returned?" Xiao Hang looked at Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao said, "She's back. She's talking with Huang Fu Xian inside." Princess Xinyang asked, "Do you know about Ning An's matter?" Gu Jiao nodded. "I just heard from Great Aunt." Princess Xinyang's expression relaxed. "Then there's nothing else. I'll go back first." "I'll see you out," Xiao Heng said. Princess Xinyang turned and walked towards the door. She hadn't taken 2 steps when she caught sight of the red-tasseled spear basking in the sun on the bamboo. Her lips twitched. She said to Xiao Hang, "This courtyard is empty. Let's play with the spear for a bit." A trace of embarrassment flashed across Xiao Heng's face. He held her arm and walked out. "My own son, my own son." Princess Xinyang glared at him, both angry and amused. She then boarded the carriage. Gu Jiao held a hoe and looked at the tightly shut window in the west room. She asked, "Do you think Great Aunt will tell him everything?" Xiao Heng's gaze also landed on the tightly shut window. He said, "Probably." Gu Jiao thought for a moment. "Aren't you afraid that he'll be sad? He's still so young. Children seem to be very fragile." "You're only 3 years older than him." Xiao Heng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How old did this girl think she was? Xiao Heng said, "We should choose the lesser of 2 evils. If we don't tell him and let him live in the misunderstanding of being hated by his own mother for the rest of his life, that would be the saddest thing." Gu Jiao seemed to have sensed his emotions and understood a little. She turned to look at him. "Do you remember what happened to you?" "Yes." Xiao Heng did not deny it. The most painful thing he had experienced was not that he was not Princess Xinyang's child, nor was it that he was almost burned to death in the fire. It was that he had misunderstood Princess Xinyang's disgust and abandonment of him. It was a kind of self-detachment that dug out one's heart and liver. Gu Jiao said, "Huang Fu Xian said that after he was injured, his mother seemed to have changed into a different person. Perhaps from then on, she was no longer the real Ning En. Do you think the Emperor's son-in-law knows about Ning En?" Xiao Heng shook his head. "I don't know. Some things will never have an answer." It was 2 hours later when Empress Dowager Zhuang came out of the West Room. She looked very tired and her eyes were bloodshot. When she stepped over the threshold, she stumbled. Gu Jiao was sweeping the room. She quickly went forward to support her. "Great Aunt." Empress Dowager Zhuang waved her hand. It's okay. I'm old. I'll go back to my room and lie down for a while. Then, she slowly walked to her room. Her hair was silver and white. Her entire person was shrouded in great vicissitudes. Her back seemed to be slightly bent. In just one day, she seemed to have aged 10 years. Her life had been too bitter. She had protected the country of Zhao, the throne of His Majesty, and the glory of the Zhuang family. But the people she had raised with her own hands were all gone. Ning En, who she wanted to see, would never come back. Empress Dowager Zhuang slowly lay on her bed. There was no light in the room. Creak, the door was pushed open. With another creak, the door was closed. A small figure ran to the bed and lay on the edge of the bed. Great Aunt. Empress Dowager Zhuang said lightly. What? Little Jing Kong asked cutely. Do you want to sleep? Empress Dowager Zhuang rolled her eyes. No, I'm lying here to germinate. Little Jing Kong opened his eyes wide. Oh, then I'll pour some water on you? Empress Dowager Zhuang was speechless. Little Jing Kong said again, Great Aunt, you still owe me a candied fruit. Empress Dowager Zhuang said, The jar is on the table. Take it yourself. Little Jing Kong said, Great Aunt, why don't you act shamelessly today? Empress Dowager Zhuang said expressionlessly, You're very noisy today. Little Jing Kong tilted his head. Was I not noisy before? Empress Dowager Zhuang was going crazy. She just wanted to be alone and be sad for a while. Why was this little monk always so noisy? It's time to eat. Gu Xiaoshuan's loud shout came from the yard. Little Jing Kong grabbed Empress Dowager Zhuang's sleeve. Great Aunt, let's go eat. I don't want to eat. Great Uncle made brown sugar glutinous rice cake. I don't want to. He also made honey bean rolls. No. And sugar eggs. Empress Dowager Zhuang's face darkened and she swallowed. Couldn't they let her be sad for a while? Huang Fuxian was sick. Gu Jiao didn't wake him up as soon as he fell asleep. She heated millet porridge for him in the pot. He could eat it when he woke up. Unexpectedly, Huang Fuxian still didn't wake up at night. Why isn't my little brother awake? Little Jing Kong asked in confusion. Let me see. Gu Jiao checked Huang Fuxian's pulse and touched his forehead. His pulse was normal and his body temperature was normal. He should just be asleep. Huang Fuxian was indeed asleep. He had a dream that he went back to the time when he was 5 years old. That year, the snow at the frontier fortress was very heavy. Many people froze or starved to death at home. Princess Ning En took the servants and planned to go to the market in Yi City to give out porridge. The 5-year-old ran over and hugged Princess Ning En's leg. He said crisply, Mother, Xian wants to go too. Princess Ning En looked at the snow outside the house and gently stroked his head. She smiled and said, The snow is too heavy. Xian will freeze if he goes out. Xian will obediently stay at home and wait for Mother to come back, okay? The 5-year-old shook his head. But Mother will also freeze. Princess Ning En said softly, Mother won't. Mother wears a lot of clothes. The 5-year-old puffed out his chest. Xian can also wear a lot of clothes. Princess Ning En laughed softly and held him in her arms. She kissed his little face and forehead. Good boy. Mother will be back soon. Then, Princess Ning En put him down, put on her cloak and went out. He chased to the door with his short legs. As expected, he was stopped by the servants. He had dreamed of this scene many times. The next scene was that he pretended to take a nap. When no one was looking, he sneaked into the shopping cart and hid under the stool. He then followed the cart out of the residence. But the young him didn't know that not all carriages would go to his mother's porridge stall. The carriage stopped at a strange place. It was already dark. The coachman went to do something, so he got off the carriage. On a strange street with strange people, he became flustered. He began to call out, Nyong Chin. He didn't know how long he called and how long he walked. The helplessness of not being able to find his mother always woke him up from his nightmares. But this time was different. He continued to run around on the street like a headless fly. The wind and snow became heavier and heavier. He lost his way. Unknowingly, he came to an empty official road. There was white snow on both sides as far as the eye could see. He didn't have any strength. He fell into the snow and couldn't get up again. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, a gentle and anxious voice sounded above his head. Then, he was picked up by a pair of gentle arms. Sien. It was his mother. He weakly opened his eyes and saw a face full of tears. Mother finally found you. Princess Ning and hugged him tightly in her arms. He also wanted to hug his mother, but he was frozen. Princess Ning and carried him on her back. Braving the biting cold wind and snow, she walked forward step by step. Princess Ning fell into the snow countless times, but she got up countless times. Mother, I'm so cold. Princess Ning took off her cotton-padded clothes and covered him. So sleepy, he murmured on his mother's back. Princess Ning gasped for breath and said, Sien, don't sleep. Mother will take you home. In the end, she couldn't go any further. She lay down in the cold snow. He lay on her back as the snow fell in a flurry. She dug a small hole in the snow below her with her bare hands. She dug until her 10 fingers were badly mangled and her white bones could be seen. She also took off her jacket and wrapped it around him with her cotton-padded clothes. She carefully put him inside. Then she used her weak and thin body to cover the snow hole, blocking the wind and snow for him. The bone-piercing cold wind cut into her body. She gradually became stiff. She used the last of her strength to say to him, Sien, you have to live. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/1084874003. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 580. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find online. Before dawn, Gu Jiao came out of the East Room. These days, Huang Fu Xian was resting in the West Room. Xiao Hang and little Jing Kong were originally going to rest in the East Room, but they were taken to the room next door by her granduncle. There was already the sound of a big and a small quarreling next door. It seemed that they had woken up. Gu Jiao went to the backyard to wash up. Just as she was wiping her face, she saw a shadow on the ground that was illuminated by the lantern under the corridor. She turned around and looked carefully. She saw Huang Fu Xian pushing a wheelchair out of the study. There was no threshold in the study, so the wheelchair could enter and exit freely. But how did he come out of the West Room? Have you been awake for a long time? Gu Jiao asked. Not too long. I asked your secret guard to help me. He was referring to the secret guard who helped him and the wheelchair out of the West Room. This kid even asked the secret guard to help him. Gu Jiao said, Wait a moment. I'll go and make breakfast after washing my face. Huang Fu Xian stared at her. I heard from the little mushroom that you have a way to make me stand up? Little mushroom? Gu Jiao blinked her eyes in astonishment. It took her a while to realize that he was referring to little Jing Kong. Gu Jiao looked at him. You've thought it through? Huang Fu Xian lowered his eyes and pinched his cold fingertips. I've thought it through. He wanted to live. He didn't want to live like a walking corpse, but like a real person. Even if he didn't have legs, he wanted to be indomitable. He wanted to visit the rivers and mountains of Zhao country and use his feet to measure the territory of Zhao country. He would carry his mother's hope and try his best to live on. It's very hard. I'm not afraid. It's also very painful. It's more painful than bone scraping. I'm not afraid of pain. Gu Jiao scratched her head. It's not a matter of whether you're afraid or not. It's just that I don't have the materials to make an receptor cavity. Forget it. I'll go harvest resin when spring comes. After washing her face, Gu Jiao returned to the east room. She took out the medicine box and was about to take out the medicine and gauze to change Huang Fuxian's dressing. However, she was surprised to find that the weight of the medicine box was not right. She opened it and saw that there was a new pair of receptacles on top of the emergency medicine. What happened to old concubine Jing and her daughter had taught the emperor a bloody lesson. He no longer mentioned hiding someone's crime. Of course, even if he wanted to, he couldn't. Princess Xinyang had already announced old concubine Jing's crime in front of all the officials in the throne room. There was no way to take it back. As for Ning An's identity, he had to announce it to the world. The crimes of the fake Ning An had to be made public as well. These matters were handed over to the Ministry of Justice. Minister Xing's case was overturned this morning and he was acquitted. Xiao Hang and Assistant Minister Li personally went to the Supreme Court to bring him back. Assistant Minister Li cupped his hands at Minister Xing and smiled apologetically. Lord Xing, I had no choice but to accuse you of putting on an act that day. I apologize for offending you. You brat. Minister Xing raised his hand to slap Assistant Minister Li. Assistant Minister Li shrunk back in fear. In the end, Minister Xing restrained himself and only kicked him lightly. Why didn't you give me a heads up? I've always said that I've always treated you well. Why are you pouring dirty water on my head in the blink of an eye? Assistant Minister Li smiled awkwardly and glanced at Xiao Hang. Isn't it because Lu Lang didn't want me to tell you? Lu Lang said that it was dangerous enough that I pretended to be bribed by her. I'm afraid I'll be exposed if more people know. Minister Xing was unconvinced. What? You can put on an act, but I can't? Assistant Minister Li smiled wryly. You just don't know how to put on an act. You're so upright. Minister Xing's anger was greatly reduced by this flattery. He looked at the two and said sternly, This is the only time. There won't be a next time. If you have any plans in the future, remember to inform me in advance. Don't keep me in the dark. Yes. Assistant Minister Li replied with a smile. As they spoke, they left the Supreme Court and the carriage stopped at the side of the road. Assistant Minister Li personally helped Minister Xing into the carriage. Then he turned around and walked towards Xiao Hang with an embarrassed expression. He lowered his voice and said, Lu Lang, this time, thank you very much. Assistant Minister Li wasn't pretending to be bribed by the young master of Immortal Music House. He was really bribed. After the matter was exposed, it was Xiao Hang who came forward and said that Assistant Minister Li had taken his advice and put on an act with the other person. The purpose was to lure the fish into the bait. Xiao Hang said, Assistant Minister Li is too polite. Assistant Minister Li said embarrassedly, This time, I was possessed. I won't dare to do it again. I'm deeply grateful for your saving my life. If there's anything you need me for in the future, don't hesitate to tell me. I'll definitely be willing to sacrifice myself for you. Xiao Heng smiled faintly. You're too polite. It didn't matter if Assistant Minister Li was truly so grateful that he was willing to sacrifice himself for him. What was important was that Assistant Minister Li would be very loyal to him with this information in his hands. From this moment on, Xiao Hang began the first step of cultivating his power. Princess Xinyang had given Xiao Hang the account book of concubine Jing. Xiao Hang understood what the princess meant. If he wanted to, he could hand over the account book or keep it in his hands. With this information, the connections that concubine Jing had built up over the years would become his leaks. After returning to the Ministry of Justice, Minister Xing immediately had Xiao Hang bring over the case file. Xiao Hang had organized it very clearly. Minister Xing was very satisfied. He felt that after this incident, Xiao Lulang should be promoted. Minister Xing flipped through the file as he said, "I'll let Assistant Minister Li handle Sun Ping's funeral. You just focus on organizing this case." "Oh right, Ning En." Halfway through his words, Secretary Xing Shang remembered that it was a fake Princess Ning En. He changed his words and said, "Since this matter has been handed over to the Ministry of Justice, send someone to the Supreme Court in a moment and bring the young master of Xianle House here." Xiao Hang said, "The young master of Xianle Ju was taken away by His Majesty's men. His Majesty said that he would personally deal with her." "Is that so?" Minister Xing nodded. "All right. His Majesty was the boss. What could he say?" "Sir, sir." As they spoke, a prison guard hurriedly walked in. He cupped his hands and reported, "Sir Xing, a eunuch Su came from the palace. He said that he has an urgent matter to discuss with Minister Xiao. I remember that the Empress has a eunuch Su by her side." Minister Xing didn't know about Xiao Heng's background, but he knew that Xiao Heng was deeply favored by the two masters in the palace. But when did the Empress get involved? Minister Xing looked at Xiao Heng. "All right, go. Don't make them wait too long." Xiao Heng bowed and excused himself. At the entrance of the Ministry of Justice's yamen, he saw the anxious Eunuch Su. "Eunuch Su," he greeted. "Ouch." Eunuch Su hurriedly ran over and grabbed his arm. He sobbed in a low voice, "Young Duke, bad news. Something happened to the seventh prince." Xiao Hang went to the medical center and picked up Gu Jiao in the carriage. They rushed to the palace as quickly as possible. "What's the situation?" Gu Jiao asked. Xiao Heng said, "He fainted." He said that after he was rescued that day, he was a little listless. The Empress had the imperial physician check his body. There was nothing strange, so she just thought that he was too frightened. But at noon, when he was eating, he suddenly fell from the chair. I don't know if he fainted and then fell down, but he fainted. Gu Jiao pondered. What did the imperial physician say? Xiao Heng shook his head. The imperial physician couldn't diagnose the problem. The two entered Kuan Ning Palace. They could hear Empress Xiao crying from afar. The crown prince went to court. He still didn't know that something happened to his younger brother. Empress Xiao didn't send anyone to inform him. "Master, Lord Xiao and Dr. Gu are here." Eunuch Su reported outside the door. Empress Xiao dismissed the palace servants, leaving only Eunuch Su. "Ah Heng." Empress Xiao sobbed. As the empress of a country, Empress Xiao had always been dignified and self-restrained. She rarely lost her composure like this. Xiao Heng comforted her softly. "Auntie, take care of yourself. Let Jiao Jiao take a look at little Qi first." Empress Xiao stepped aside. "Jiao Jiao, you must cure little Qi." Gu Jiao nodded. "I'll try my best." Gu Jiao put down the small basket, opened the small medicine box, and took out the stethoscope. There was no noise in his lungs. His heartbeat was a little fast. She checked Qin Chuyu's pulse. It was too strange. She had never seen such a pulse in her 2 lives. Gu Jiao asked Empress Xiao, "Can you describe the scene when the 7th prince fainted in detail?" Empress Xiao recalled. At that time, little Qi was eating. He said that he didn't want to eat vegetables. I said something to him. Suddenly, he screamed, covered his heart, and fell down. "Covered his heart? Angina?" Gu Jiao murmured. Then she asked, "Is he usually like this?" Empress Xiao sobbed and shook her head. "No. He has always been fine. But after he was kidnapped by that woman, he became a little depressed. I thought he was frightened. The royal doctor also said so. But the child is still young. We can't give him any medicine. The royal doctor said he would be fine after a while. But who would have thought?" Gu Jiao pulled the quilt, took off Qin Chuyu's clothes, and carefully checked his body for any hidden wounds. There was nothing. Xiao Heng suddenly said, "Jiao Jiao, his right wrist." Gu Jiao looked at Qin Chuyu's right wrist. She didn't see anything. She changed her angle and stood beside Xiao Hang. This time, she saw it clearly. There was a gray mark on Qin Chuyu's wrist. It couldn't be seen if the light was too bright or too dark. Gu Jiao rubbed it with her fingertips. She couldn't wipe it off. Did he have this before? Empress Xiao thought for a while and shook her head. I don't think so. Although this mark is very shallow, if it has been there for many days, there will be a chance to find it. Gu Jiao said, so it's very likely that it appeared recently. Gu Jiao pondered for a while and said to Xiao Hang, where is the young master of Xianle House? She should know what this is. Xiao Hang said, she was taken away by His Majesty's people. His Majesty said he would deal with her personally. Empress Xiao hurriedly ordered Eunuch Su, go to His Majesty and ask for her. Digression. Please give me a wave of monthly votes. Moi, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/1084858899. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 581. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. There was a secret room in the side hall of Pure Flowers Palace used to interrogate palace personnel. It wasn't as eerie as the Ministry of Justice's prison, but it was still dark and strange. At this time, Princess Ning-en was lying on the cold floor. Because her legs were broken, she couldn't stand up and walk. There were doctors in the imperial prison who helped her set her bones, but how could they heal so quickly? The emperor sat 10 steps away from her. Eunuch Wei and 2 palace experts were guarding him. What should we call you? The emperor asked coldly. Qin. Qin Fengyan, she said weakly. You think you're worthy of the surname Qin? The emperor coldly glanced at the face that was almost identical to Princess Ning-en's. When he thought of Ning-en, his heart felt like it was being stabbed. However, when he thought of this woman who replaced Ning-en, he couldn't calm down. How did Ning-en die? Was she killed by the 2 of you together? Qin Fengyan smiled bitterly. Will your Majesty believe me if I say no? The emperor found it hard to believe. He had suffered enough at the hands of this mother and daughter pair, so he was a bit paranoid. The emperor said, then we'll change the question. Where is Ning-en's body buried? Qin Fengyan looked at the emperor with a smile that wasn't a smile. Perhaps she's still alive. Your Majesty, if you let me go, I'll tell you her whereabouts. The emperor grasped the armrest of his chair tightly. It had to be said that he was moved in that instant. Eunuch Wei hurriedly warned, Your Majesty, be careful of trickery. The emperor composed himself and said seriously, You don't need to lie to us anymore. You've committed many evil deeds, so we won't forgive you. We called you here today to ask you where Ning-en's body is buried. If you don't want to suffer more, it's best if you tell us the truth. We might consider giving you a quick death. Quick? Ha ha ha. Qin Fengyan laughed until her entire body trembled. Imperial brother, oh Imperial brother, don't you think your words are very hypocritical? Death is death. What's the point of dying a quick death? I don't understand. We're both your sisters, so why is Ning-en's life so good? But I was taken out of the palace from a young age, living a life that was neither human nor ghost. Brother, do you know how much I've been tortured since I was a child? Being exposed to the scorching sun on a hot summer day and freezing in the cold winter. Being disobedient would result in starvation or a severe beating. My happiest day of the month is being able to enter the palace and pretend to be Ning En. That way, I can be a royal princess for a day. When the emperor heard her mention her past, he couldn't help but frown. Why didn't you tell me? Qin Fengyan sneered. Didn't I say that? Did I really not mention it? A distant memory suddenly surged into his mind. The young him and the young Ning En squatted by the lake and used tree branches to write. Little Ning En wrote the word Yen in big letters. Brother, I'm not Yen, I'm Yen, The young man took the branch and flicked her forehead. Silly girl, why can't you even write your own name? Little Ning En said angrily, I am Yen, That's the name. With that, she ran off in a huff. Qin Fengyan said with tears in her eyes, Brother, do you remember now? Mother later found out about that matter. She warned me not to mention my past to anyone, or else she wouldn't let me enter the palace to see her. Brother, I was only a child the same age as little Qi. Did I have the guts to go against mother and so many evil people? I was also forced. What did I do wrong? Why do you always only care about Ning En, and no one cares about me? Qin Fengyan cried sadly. A thick layer of self-blame suddenly rose from the bottom of the emperor's heart. A person's nature at birth was good. If she had been raised in the palace like Ning En, raised by her father and mother, would she not have grown up to be like this? She should have been a carefree royal princess. She should have enjoyed all the glory and wealth in the world. She should have... Clang clang. The door to the secret chamber was kicked open from the outside. The emperor's thoughts came to an abrupt end. He turned around abruptly and was about to reprimand when he saw a small, thin figure walk over fiercely and kick Qin Fengyan, who was crying and acting pitiful, over. Ah! Qin Fengyan let out a scream and crashed into the wall behind her. Little miracle doctor? The emperor was shocked. Gu Jiao walked forward and kicked away the medicine beside her hand. Her other foot stepped coldly on her chest. The emperor was stunned by this scene. The palace experts hurriedly protected him behind them. You, all of you retreat, he said. The palace experts retreated to the side. The emperor looked at the medicine bag that had been kicked over by Gu Jiao and froze in place in disbelief. This is... she. Eunuch Wei hurriedly walked over with small, quick steps. He wrapped his hand in a handkerchief and picked up the medicine bag. When he opened it, he saw that it was a bag of crushed brown medicinal powder. It emitted a strong medicinal and floral fragrance. The smell is a bit familiar. Have I seen it somewhere before? Eunuch Wei murmured. It's white medicine. Gu Jiao glanced at it and said lightly. Eunuch Wei sucked in a cold breath. His Majesty had been bewitched by this medicine for so many years and had finally lost its effect. If he were to be bewitched again, he would become a fool for the rest of his life. The emperor flew into a rage out of humiliation. How does the Supreme Court do things? They don't even search the prisoners. Male prisoners were usually searched, but she was not a normal prisoner. It was not that professional to find a nanny to search her, so it was not difficult for her to smuggle a pill. An extreme chill ran down the emperor's spine. He looked at Qin Fengyan on the ground with disgust. To think that I was sympathetic to you just now. So you were acting all along. Qin Fengyan wanted to struggle, but she could not move at all. Gu Jiao was stepping on her chest like a mountain, making it hard for her to breathe. Gu Jiao looked at Qin Fengyan with cold eyes. What did you do to Qin Chuyu? The emperor's expression changed. He looked at Gu Jiao and said, What happened to little Qi? Gu Jiao stepped down and broke one of Qin Fengyan's ribs. Qin Fengyan did not expect Gu Jiao to be so ruthless. Didn't people interrogate prisoners without saying anything before using torture? How could she break someone's bones as soon as she came up? The light outside the house shone in at an angle. Gu Jiao's back was against the light, and her face was hidden in the dark. Her pair of dark, deep, and cold eyes reminded people of the god of death. Qin Fengyan had a trump card, but for some reason, in front of this powerful god of death, she could not help but feel a sense of fear. She used all her courage and shouted, "If I die, he will die too." The emperor walked over and looked at her angrily. "What do you mean? What did you do to little Qi?" "Ha ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha." The entire secret room was filled with Qin Fengyan's crazy laughter. This woman was crazy. It was downright crazy. Even if she died, she would drag someone down with her. She said that she was the emperor's sister, but she turned around and murdered her own nephew. The emperor hated himself for being stupid. He even wanted to sympathize with her just now. Gu Jiao stepped on Qin Fengyan's right hand and was not surprised to see the same white mark on her right wrist. "Ah, so you found out. Ha 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 ha. So what? Do you know what this is? Do you know how to cure it?" "You can't cure it. Qin Chuyu's life is mine. You don't dare to kill me. Do you want to take a gamble? See if I'm lying?" "Ha ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Don't you think you're very powerful? I might as well tell you that the antidote is in the hands of the Yen people. If you have the ability, go get it." The emperor was so angry that he wanted to kill someone. Gu Jiao's expression did not change at all. She was still as calm as an ancient well. "So there is an antidote." Qin Fengyan was stunned. Was that the point? Did she hear what she said? The Yen people. They were from the Yen people. Gu Jiao took out a dagger and cut Qin Fengyan's and the emperor's fingers. She took out the blood type test paper from the small medicine box. Very good, the blood type was the same. Gu Jiao put on gloves and took out an infusion tube and a disposable bleach. Her movements were calm and elegant, like a devout believer. But for some reason, Qin Fengyan's heart skipped a beat. She instinctively felt fear. "What are you going to do?" Gu Jiao raised her gloved hand and looked at her calmly. Qin Fengyan backed up with her hands in fear. "What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't come over." She retreated to a corner and had nowhere to go. Gu Jiao came in front of her, raised her gloved hand, and gently patted the top of her head. "I hate it when people threaten me." The emperor was afraid of injections, so he had already fainted. The two imperial experts did not know what was going on and wanted to protect the emperor, but they were knocked down by Gu Jiao in one move. Eunuch Wei swallowed. He did not know whether to leave or not. "Light the lamp," Gu Jiao said. "All right." Eunuch Wei ran over eagerly. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found online here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/826/1084670884. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion Mobile Reading Website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 582. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Qin Fengyan's original intention was to leave a way out for herself. Once Qin Chuyu's life was tied to hers, she didn't believe that they would be ruthless enough to kill her. This was a flawless plan, but she ran into Gu Jiao, who didn't play by the rules. If she sincerely repented and begged, Gu Jiao might consider letting her live for a few more days. But she actually used a child's life to threaten Gu Jiao. Coming out of the secret room, Gu Jiao was covered in blood. Not a single drop was hers. Eunuch Wei had been a eunuch for many years and punished countless people in the palace, but he had never seen someone treat someone like that. G. Eunuch Wei stuttered. Without waiting for him to finish, Gu Jiao took off her gown and gloves and left expressionlessly. Coming out of the palace, Gu Jiao returned to Jade Water Alley. She planned to change her clothes before going out. Just as she entered the courtyard, she found that Nan Xiang's master's wife and Master Lu were also there. The 3 little boys at home had gone to school. Yao Shi was sitting in the living room chatting with the 2 of them. Jiao Jiao, you're back? Yao Shi immediately saw Gu Jiao enter. Gu Jiao greeted the 3. Jiao Jiao, what's wrong? Are you in a hurry to go out? Yao Shi noticed that Gu Jiao's footsteps were hurried. Gu Jiao said, there's something I need to do. I need to go out for a bit. Madam, Xiaobao is hungry. Yu Ye carried Gu Xiaobao over. Yao Shi said to Nan Xiang's master's wife and Master Lu, excuse me. Nan Xiang smiled and nodded, go ahead. Yao Shi carried Gu Xiaobao back to the room to feed him. Master Lu continued to sit in the living room and drink tea. Nan Xiang's master's wife hesitated for a moment before knocking on Gu Jiao's door. Jiao Jiao, it's me, she said. Madam Nan Xiang, please come in. Gu Jiao had just changed into a set of light men's clothing when she picked up the red tasseled spear hanging on the wall and tied up the loose cloth. When Nan Xiang saw Gu Jiao's posture, she knew that it was not simple for her to go out. Now that they were all on the same side, Nan Xiang naturally would not turn a blind eye to it. You are like this in broad daylight, is there something important? Gu Jiao asked. The 7th prince has been poisoned by a very strange poison. I'll go get him the antidote. Poison? The Tang sect was best at using hidden weapons and poisons. Nan Xiang asked, what are the symptoms? Can you tell me? Gu Jiao told her about Qin Chuyu and Qin Fengyan's symptoms. Qin Chuyu's condition was more serious and he was already unconscious. This isn't our Tang sect's poison. Nan Xiang frowned and muttered, what? Gu Jiao looked at her. Nan Xiang smiled embarrassedly, nothing. I mean, I haven't seen this poison with my own eyes, but I've heard that it is a kind of voodoo. The 7th prince is still young this year, right? Gu Jiao said, he is 8 years old this year. Nan Xiang nodded and said, that's right. This kind of poison is very toxic. Generally, it can't be used on children. It's very easy for them to die. This kind of poison is divided into 2 kinds. Once the person who is poisoned by the mother voodoo dies, the person who is poisoned by the child voodoo will also die. But if the person who is poisoned by the child voodoo dies, the person who is poisoned by the mother voodoo will be fine. The 7th prince should be poisoned by the child voodoo. This kind of voodoo can only be found in the Shang kingdom. Did the Shang kingdom attack the royal family of the Zhao kingdom? Gu Jiao said, it's a long story. Nan Xiang was not interested in the battle of the royal family, so she did not ask any more. Instead, she said, the person who poisoned the 7th prince probably didn't know that an 8-year-old child could not withstand its toxicity. This kind of poison was generally used to control people. But if people died after being poisoned, then there was no point in controlling them. Nan Xiang, do you know what the antidote looks like? Gu Jiao asked. I haven't seen that kind of antidote, so I can only take it back and try it first. Nan Xiang asked, by the way, how long has the 7th prince been poisoned? Gu Jiao said, he was poisoned at noon. Nan Xiang's expression became dignified. He can't hold on for more than half a day. It had been more than half a day. Even if Gu Jiao flew, it was impossible to get the antidote back in time. Nan Xiang thought for a moment and said to Gu Jiao, find someone to take me into the palace. I have a way to temporarily stabilize his toxicity, but it won't last long. You must get the antidote back before dawn. Gu Jiao nodded, thank you, Nan Xiang. Grand Aunt, Xiao Hang, and people from Jing Kong were not here. Granduncle was not here either. Now only Huang Fu Xian could enter the palace. Gu Jiao came to the west room and woke up Huang Fu Xian, who was sleeping. Master Lu pulled Nan Xiang into the front yard, looked back, and whispered, do you really want to enter the palace? Don't you remember Empress Xiao? Nan Xiang smiled. That's all in the past. The seventh prince is a friend of Jing Kong. Have you forgotten? Master Lu said, Of course I haven't forgotten. Jing Kong always talks about him and Su Kongji. Nan Xiang said, If something happens to the seventh prince, Jing Kong will be very sad. Master Lu sighed, That's true, but I don't want you to go back to that place. Nan Xiang touched her disfigured face through the veil. I'm like this. Who will recognize me? Even if they recognize me, no one will care, right? Master Lu, I'll go with you. Nan Xiang, don't go. Wait for me here. Master Lu, but, Nan Xiang, be good. Master Lu had no choice but to surrender. Gu Jiao pushed Huang Fu Xian out. Jiao Jiao. Nan Xiang turned around and saw Huang Fu Xian sitting in a wheelchair at a glance. Huang Fu Xian just woke up from his sleep and leaned against the wheelchair impatiently. He looked a little sick. The corners of his eyes were red and his eyes looked surly. Nan Xiang's eyes suddenly popped out. Good, beautiful child. She wanted to kidnap him to be Xiaoshuan's younger brother. Master Lu opened his mouth. I think I'd better follow you. Nan Xiang pushed him away with her arm. Go away. Master Lu, who was suddenly despised. Huang Fu Xian took Nan Xiang into the palace. Gu Jiao got on the horse, took Xiao Jiu, and went out of the city to the nest of the Yan people. Xiao Jiu's way of conveying information was like this: follow them first. If it lost them, it would cover its head with a pair of wings when it got home, looking very dejected. If it didn't lose them, it would come back with a dead branch near its destination and valiantly show off in front of everyone. It showed off several times that day. It probably knew that it had done something big. Gu Jiao took out the dead branch it brought back that day. Xiao Jiu excitedly flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Gu Jiao followed Xiao Jiu out of the west gate and went southwest. When night fell, Gu Jiao came to a village near a mountain and a river. Xiao Jiu circled in the sky for a while before landing back on Gu Jiao's shoulder. Is it here? Gu Jiao asked. Xiao Jiu flapped its wings. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Gu Jiao, that's a hen. Xiao Jiu, coo. Gu Jiao, that's a pigeon. Xiao Jiu, gee. Gu Jiao, how many bird languages do you know? Gu Jiao secretly estimated that it took her no less than 3 hours to reach here from Jade Water Alley. This was because it was relatively easy to travel during the day. If it was night time, it might take more than 2 hours. For insurance, it would be best if she could get the antidote before 3 o'clock. Chirp. Xiao Jiu's bird feathers suddenly stood up. Gu Jiao felt a very powerful aura. She grabbed the red tasseled spear on her back. In the next second, a tall shadow flew over from the sky and stepped on the back of the horse. With a whoosh, she was carried away. Gu Jiao was carried to a nearby forest. There was a carriage parked there. Gu Jiao's face was black. Her cheeks were swollen due to the whistling cold wind. She looked like a sad frog that couldn't close its mouth. When Long Yi was flying, he was very rough, but when he put a person into the carriage, he was extremely gentle. Moreover, he especially considerately used his internal force to smooth out Gu Jiao's messy hair, especially that bunch of a hogue that refused to admit defeat. Princess Xinyang looked at Gu Jiao and casually said, Who told you to follow me? Gu Jiao seriously said, I didn't follow you. Princess Xinyang coldly snorted, still stubborn. Gu Jiao. Fine, I followed you. Princess Xinyang drank a mouthful of tea. Oh, how could you follow me? Gu Jiao. Princess Xinyang poured a cup of tea for Gu Jiao. You also came to kill? Don't waste your time, you can't kill me. What's wrong? Gu Jiao took the hot tea. Princess Xinyang said, I've been observing here for a day, 100 dragon shadow guards, give up on this idea. Even if Long Yi was powerful, he could still fight them individually. This was already comparable to a small army, so taking turns to fight them would exhaust their physical strength. Gu Jiao said, "So many dragon shadow guards?" Princess Xinyang said, "Dragon shadow guards is the name of Zhao country, they are called death soldiers, but their strength is the same. Princess Xinyang brought people here today to deal with the forces of Yan country, so as to prevent them from having ideas about Xiao Hang. Who would have thought that they would have so many people?" Princess Xinyang said, "Don't act blindly without thinking, I will go back and have people come here to suppress them." Taking turns to fight them was always a good strategy. 100 dragon shadow guards had amazing fighting strength, but if they were to face an army of 10,000, they still had no chance of winning. Gu Jiao said, "It's already dawn, the 7th prince can't wait that long." Princess Xinyang frowned. "What do you mean? What happened to little Qi?" Gu Jiao told her about Qin Chuyu being poisoned. Princess Xinyang angrily slammed the table. "Damn Qin Fengyan. And His Majesty too. I was only gone for a day. That's what he's trying to do. That pillow was really too light." Gu Jiao, "I drew the poison from Qin Fengyan's body into His Majesty's body." Princess Xinyang, "Well done." Gu Jiao, "Well, he's your brother." Gu Jiao said, "I will go in first to find the antidote, I won't confront them directly." Thinking of something, Princess Xinyang asked, "Why didn't you bring Gu family's boy? Isn't that boy specialized in this? With him, stealing things will be faster." Gu Jiao said indifferently, "No need, I will do it myself, his martial arts are too weak." Gu Jiao only brought Gu Chengfeng for things she was confident in. If it was too dangerous, she would only do it herself. "You." How could Princess Xinyang not understand? She said, "You are not allowed to go alone, bring Long Yi." Gu Jiao refused. "They have methods to deal with the dragon shadow guards, it's better not to bring Long Yi." What methods to deal with the dragon shadow guards? How could Princess Xinyang not understand Gu Jiao's thoughts? Gu Jiao was worried that if something happened inside, she would also be in danger, so she wanted to leave the most powerful person to her. Gu Jiao didn't care about other people could make decisions, but if Gu Jiao wanted to make a decision, no one could change it. Gu Jiao got off the horse and put on a mask. She ordered a secret guard from the princess's residence to quietly approach the manor. That secret guard followed behind Gu Jiao, and with a whoosh, he was taken away. The secret guard was forced to the ground by a tall figure, and his clothes were stripped off. In the next second, Long Yi also took off his own clothes with a swish. Then, the secret guard looked at Long Yi in horror, and hugged his chest with both hands. "I would rather die." Long Yi knocked him out with a punch, and changed into his clothes. With a satisfied face, he pulled up his pants and swaggered out. The remaining 4 dragon shadow guards walked out from behind the big tree. Looking at their boss, and then looking at the secret guard lying on the ground, they suddenly understood something. They uniformly rushed over, and each of them caught a secret guard of the princess's mansion. Incomparably beastly, they pressed each other to the ground, and regardless of their tears and struggles, they took off their clothes. Then, the 4 of them changed, pulled up their pants, and valiantly followed their boss's footsteps. Gu Jiao sneaked into the manor's courtyard wall. She rushed behind the wall and blew a secret signal. It was safe, so she could come over. Then Gu Jiao saw a secret guard came over. 2 secret guards came over. 3 secret guards came over. With Long Yi as the leader, the 5 dragon shadow guards neatly lined up in a row like a tonghulu. Gu Jiao, Digression, Long Yi, ha ha ha, forming a group to rob monthly votes. The latest chapter of this book is not finished. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642/826428266/1084655584. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website, m. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 583. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. In the afternoon, Huang Fuxian took Nan Xiang into the palace. Along the way, Nan Xiang kept being infatuated with this child, which made Huang Fuxian roll his eyes. "What are you holding in your arms? Can you show it to me?" After getting out of the carriage, Nan Xiang pushed Huang Fuxian's wheelchair while looking at the small package in Huang Fuxian's arms. Huang Fuxian was holding it when he came out of the room. She didn't know what was inside, but he didn't let it go on the way. "I won't show it to you," Huang Fuxian said proudly. Gu Jiao had said that with this pair of things, his broken limbs could be reattached to his legs. Now that his injuries had not healed, he could not wear them. However, he had thought about it. He wanted to cultivate a relationship with them in advance. Nan Xiang laughed instead of being angry. This child was cute, so cute. He was cute even when he was angry. The two arrived at Chenkuan Palace. Huang Fuxian asked the servants to inform Empress Xiao that he brought a doctor to treat Qin Chuyu. Empress Xiao hurriedly invited him in. Empress Xiao already knew that Huang Fuxian saved Qin Chuyu that night, so she changed her opinion of Huang Fuxian. "How are you? Aren't you recuperating in Clear Water Alley? Why did you come to the palace?" Although she was exhausted, she still cared about Huang Fuxian. Huang Fuxian said, "I'm fine. I brought a doctor here. She is the foster mother of Dr. Gu's younger brother. Her surname is Nan. Dr. Gu asked her to come and check the seventh prince's injury." The foster mother of Jiao Jiao's younger brother, this relationship was a bit complicated. At this point, Empress Xiao didn't have the time to care about these relatives, but since it was introduced by Gu Jiao, it must be reliable. Xiao Hang was on duty at the Ministry of Justice. Only Empress Xiao, Eunuch Su, and the others were here. Empress Xiao looked at Nan Xiang hopefully and said, "Dr. Nan, do you really have a way to cure my son?" Nan Xiang shook her head. "I can't cure him. I can only temporarily suppress the poison in his body. Jiao Jiao has to bring back the antidote for him to fully recover." Empress Xiao was stunned. Poison? Was little Qi poisoned? Before Gu Jiao left, she only asked Eunuch Wei to tell her that she was going to get the medicine. Nan Xiang thought to herself. Just now, the two of them parted in a hurry and didn't finish matching their statements. But since they had already said it, it was impossible to take it back. She could only tell the truth. "Yes, it's a very rare poison. Empress, don't worry too much. Jiao Jiao has already gone to get the antidote." Empress Xiao nervously asked, "Then if we can't get it back?" Nan Xiang took a deep breath and slowly said, "Bring it back before daybreak and His Highness can still be saved." "You mean, little Qi can only hold on until dawn?" Empress Xiao felt the world spinning around her, and she almost collapsed. Eunuch Su caught her in time. Nan Xiang walked to the bedside and took out a bottle of pills. She pulled out the cork and placed one pill under Qin Chuyu's tongue. This was actually also a type of poison. Fighting poison with poison to suppress the poison in his body. However, he had to control the dosage. If it was too light, it would have no effect. If it was too heavy, it would poison Qin Chuyu to death. Therefore, she had to stay and observe slowly. "Empress, don't fall down yourself. If you fall down, what will happen to His Highness?" Eunuch Su earnestly advised. Empress Xiao tried to force herself to calm down. She held back her tears, closed her eyes, and said to Eunuch Su, "Go and arrange a room for Xian to rest." "Yes." Eunuch Su pushed Huang Fuxian out. Empress Xiao stabilized her emotions and sat down beside the bed. Nan Xiang sat on the stool opposite the bed. Empress Xiao sat slightly higher than her. Perhaps because she had calmed down, Empress Xiao carefully looked at Nan Xiang. Nan Xiang was wearing a veil, so she couldn't see her face clearly. But because of the angle, Empress Xiao still saw a little disfigurement through the gap of the veil. Empress Xiao didn't say anything and looked away, but for some reason, she shifted her gaze back to him. This time, she looked at Nan Xiang's eyes. She felt that these eyes were familiar, as if she had seen them somewhere before. On the bed, Qin Chuyu groaned in pain, which interrupted Empress Xiao's thoughts. Empress Xiao hurried to see how her son was doing. Nan Xiang stood up, stepped forward, and hugged Qin Chuyu, making him sit up and lie down. In the next second, Qin Chuyu spat out a mouthful of black blood. Empress Xiao's beautiful face turned pale. "Little Qi." Nan Xiang patted Qin Chuyu's breath and slowly put him back. Then, she put another black pill under his tongue. Empress Xiao said worriedly, "Dr. Nan, what's wrong with little Qi?" "The poison in his highness' body is acting up." Nan Xiang looked at the night sky outside the window. "I hope Jiao Jiao can find the antidote as soon as possible." Under the wall, Gu Jiao looked at the line of dragon shadow guards Tonghulu and was speechless for a moment. She didn't know how they followed her here. Was it too late to send them back now? Forget it, she needed to find the antidote quickly. Gu Jiao didn't think this manor was very big when she observed it from a distance. But after she came in, she found that there was another world inside. No wonder a small army of dragon shadow guards could live here. It was reasonable to say that such a big manor with so many people living here shouldn't be hidden so well. Gu Jiao wandered around before she finally understood why there were so few people here. This manor was actually built on top of a graveyard. Behind the manor was a large graveyard, but it looked like it had been abandoned for a long time. No one came to pay their respects, and the grass on the graveyard was 2 meters tall. The people of Yen Kingdom were very vigilant. Even if they lived in such a poor place, they were still ready to fight. There were guards of Yen Kingdom and dragon shadow guards patrolling back and forth in the manor 24 hours a day. Gu Jiao didn't confront them directly. She carefully avoided their sight. There were 3 big courtyards and 7 or 8 small courtyards in the manor. Most of the small courtyards were for dragon shadow guards and guards. The big courtyards were Gu Jiao's target. Gu Jiao, Long Yi and others entered the east courtyard first. Gu Jiao was responsible for searching, and Long Yi and others were responsible for covering. It had to be said that they were able to freely shuttle back and forth among such a large number of dragon shadow guards of Yen Kingdom, thanks to Long Yi and others. They used their aura to perfectly conceal Gu Jiao's aura. And the reason why they weren't noticed was mostly because they and dragon shadow guards of Yen Kingdom were death warriors. Their aura was very similar. The patrolling people walked over and thought that the people inside the house were their own people. So naturally, they didn't go in to check. There was nothing in the east courtyard. Gu Jiao shook her head towards Long Yi, then walked towards the west courtyard. There were several Yen Kingdoms, strategists living in this courtyard. Gu Jiao didn't know the identity of the other party, so from their appearance and temperament, she temporarily called them that. Strange, so many people came here. There were literati and martial artists, just to deal with the son of a female slave? This time we were careless. The voice of a man full of vigor inadvertently came from the study. He was speaking the language of Zhao country, but his accent was not right. This was a person from Yen Kingdom. Along with the gradual recovery of her strength, Gu Jiao's 5 senses also improved a lot. She was separated by a whole room, but even in a state of concentration, she could still hear the voice from that side. Gu Jiao held her breath with rapt attention. She heard that man continue to speak, but also blamed Qin Fengyan for being too impatient. If she was willing to listen to our orders, she wouldn't have exposed herself so early. After that, another person in the room said something. But unfortunately, his voice was too low, so Gu Jiao really didn't hear it clearly. But Gu Jiao guessed that the other party was saying something like, "You overestimated her," because that person from Yen Kingdom replied, "Didn't we also want to surpass our master?" Who would have thought that compared to her mother, she was still a little lacking. After that, the two people switched between Yen Kingdom and Zhao Country. When they spoke Zhao Country, their voice was too low. When they spoke Yen Kingdom, Gu Jiao couldn't understand. This really made Gu Jiao regret not learning more foreign languages. There was one sentence that Gu Jiao understood: General Nangong, many thanks. The person from Yen Kingdom in the room was a general? After that sentence, the people in the room came out one by one. The two people were surrounded by a large group of dragon shadow guards, so it was very difficult to see their appearance. One of them came out of the manor, and the other went to the courtyard. The latter should be that General Nangong. He said something to his subordinates, but it was all in Yen Kingdom. Gu Jiao couldn't understand, but Long Yi seemed to understand. He picked up Gu Jiao and went to the rear of the courtyard. Unexpectedly, there was a small courtyard hidden behind the courtyard. There was no one guarding this small courtyard. Every corner of this manor was heavily guarded, except for this place. Either there was nothing inside and it was empty, or it was very dangerous and didn't need anyone to guard it. Gu Jiao leaned towards the latter. Long Yi stepped forward to scout the way. Just as he stepped into the courtyard, an arrow shot out high up in the sky. Long Yi suddenly grabbed it and stepped back, protecting Gu Jiao behind him. Gu Jiao was fine. Gu Jiao looked at the cobblestone pattern on the ground of the courtyard again. This time, she understood. She faintly pulled up the corner of her mouth. 8 trigrams array. The first thing that her godfather taught her in her previous life was arrays. Gu Jiao took the lead. She was familiar with the path, as if she was entering a no-man's land. After she broke through the array, she planned to remind Long Yi and the others to follow her footsteps. Who would have thought that when she turned around, they were gone? She turned her head again, and the 5 people uniformly stood in front of her. Gu Jiao. I forgot that you are dragon shadow guards, light and powerful. Wait, if this array couldn't stop the powerful dragon shadow guards, then what was the meaning of its existence? Could it be that all the people who broke into this courtyard were ordinary people? Gu Jiao felt that something was wrong. At this moment, a few small black dots flew out from inside the house and flew onto their necks and the back of their hands. It was a bug. Gu Jiao swatted the bug on the back of her hand away. She was fine, but in the next second, the 4 dragon shadow guards who were stung by the bug uniformly fell forward on the ground. Gu Jiao suddenly remembered what happened in the Imperial study. Qin Fengyan had waved her hand and knocked down His Majesty's dragon shadow guards. Could it be that she used these small poisonous bugs? They were the nemesis of the dragon shadow guards? Gu Jiao looked at Long Yi. Long Yi had the most small poisonous bugs. Long Yi looked at Gu Jiao and then looked at his brothers who had fallen on the ground. He was stunned for 3 seconds. Then, he fell face down in the same position. Gu Jiao face-bombed. Long Yi, you're fine. Long Yi reached out his hand and pulled out a handful of grass from the grave and inserted it into his head. It seemed to be saying, since he was already dead, I should burn some paper money for him. Gu Jiao. Digression, the 3rd night watch is here. Is there a monthly ticket for me to sneak in? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel was also updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels were read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/10846026. HTML Genius memorized the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile version website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 584. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all here. They're not dead. They were clearly still breathing. Gu Jiao didn't know what to say. Princess Xinyang had it hard. Meeting a dragon shadow guard like Long Yi, Princess Xinyang had probably collapsed a lot. The little poisonous insects on Long Yi's body couldn't do anything to Long Yi, and they were all crushed to death by Long Yi. On the other hand, the little poisonous insects on the other 4 dragon shadow guards were still alive and biting on their exposed skin. Gu Jiao squatted down and pinched the little poisonous insect on the neck of a dragon shadow guard. Who would have thought that when the black little poisonous insect came down, the poisonous stinger was broken in the flesh? It seemed that she had to let these little poisonous insects pull out the stinger themselves. Okay, she had the all-purpose essential balm. Gu Jiao took out a bottle of essential balm from her bosom and dripped it on the rest of the little poisonous bugs. As expected, these bugs instantly became dizzy from the smell and fell from the dragon shadow guard's body with a clatter. The wound on the neck of the first dragon shadow guard also had to be treated in time. There were no tweezers here, so Gu Jiao could only use the concealed silver needles she carried with her to open the wound and pick out the poisonous stinger. Finally, Gu Jiao applied a bit of wound medicine on him. During the whole process, Gu Jiao didn't take any defensive measures, but these insects didn't bite her. Combined with Qin Fengyan's experience of carrying poisonous insects on her body, they might only bite death soldiers. But Long Yi was also a death soldier, so why didn't they bite him? Knowing that his brothers were fine, Long Yi didn't continue to pretend to be dead. He didn't know if it was because he adhered to the principle of enjoying blessings and suffering together, but he sat cross-legged on the ground and grabbed a little poisonous insect and threw it on the back of his hand. He threw it again and again. He felt that the insects were all dizzy from his throwing. Gu Jiao took out an empty small porcelain bottle, caught a few poisonous insects, and put them in, bringing them home to study. The 4 dragon shadow guards sat against the wall. This kind of poisonous insect was too powerful for them, so they needed some time to recover. Gu Jiao went inside to look for the medicine, and let Long Yi stay here to guard. The courtyard was not big and there were only 4 rooms in total. Gu Jiao searched through them one by one and found a row of medicine shelves in the second last room. There were a lot of medicinal materials for external injuries on the shelf, such as Jinchuang ointment, hemostasis pills, and meridian deblocking pills. However, these were not the medicines that Gu Jiao was looking for. Finally, Gu Jiao saw more than 10 inconspicuous bottles and jars on a shelf at the bottom of the room. She couldn't recognize the contents of the jars. Which one is the antidote? Forget it, let's take it back first. Gu Jiao took out the gunny sack. Excluding the medicine for external injuries that she could identify, she put the rest into the gunny sack. Qin Chuyu was still waiting for the antidote, so Gu Jiao didn't search for anything else. Otherwise, with her temperament, she would have emptied the mana. To be on the safe side, Gu Jiao went to the last room and searched. After making sure that she didn't miss a single bottle of medicine, she returned to the corridor. The 4 dragon shadow guards hadn't been poisoned for a long time, so their lives weren't in danger. At this moment, the 4 of them were already able to stand up and use some of their skills. "Let's go," Gu Jiao said to them. Long Yi grabbed Gu Jiao and used his qinggong to rush out of the courtyard. The other 4 people were still poisoned and could only use 30 to 40% of their qinggong, but it was enough for them to get out of this small courtyard. The next step was to leave this place and quickly return to the capital. The sky was dark and there were no stars and no moon. The cold wind of the second month's night wasn't as biting cold as the bitter winter, but it was still bone-cracking cold. The guards at night were clearly much stricter than at dusk. There were 10 people in a group, 1 Imperial bodyguard and 9 Dragon Shadow Guards patrolling back and forth in the main passages of the manor. The 100 Dragon Shadow Guards mentioned by Princess Xinyang didn't mean that there were only 100 people in the manor. Counting the normal Imperial bodyguards and the leader, she estimated that there were no less than 200 people. Gu Jiao and Long Yi carefully avoided the patrolling people of Yan country. Step by step, they approached the southern wall of the manor. Just a moment ago, they had entered from this place. This place was the closest to the official road, so it was the easiest to evacuate. Everything was going smoothly, but no one had expected that halfway, a wild cat would suddenly appear. This was an unexpected situation. No one had expected to encounter a wild cat. Xiao Hang was afraid of cats. Therefore, Long Yi instinctively hated cats. When he released his aura, that wild cat was so scared that it meowed and fell from the top of the wall, smashing into a withered branch. The withered branch issued a very slight crisp sound. For the dragon shadow guards with their amazing hearing, this was a very big movement. "There's someone over there," an unfamiliar voice bellowed. Immediately afterwards, a whole row of ice-cold arrows mixed with hidden weapons covered the sky and covered the earth. Like a dense big net, with an awe-inspiring austere aura, it attacked them without leaving any leeway. This was the first time that Gu Jiao had experienced the attack of the people of Yan country. It had to be said that first of all, their attack and strategy were different from ordinary armies. Gu Jiao pulled out her red tasseled spear. Supporting the spear head on the ground, she jumped up and jumped on top of the arrow net, avoiding this wave of attack. And as for Long Yi, he shook his arms, and shot out internal force, shaking off the 4 people beside him. After that, he also jumped high up in the sky, and stepping on the arrows flying in the air, he directly flew towards that wave of archery patrol. With a caw sound, he twisted the neck of the leading imperial bodyguard. Gu Jiao understood and said to the 4 dragon shadow guards who were still poisoned, "Let's go." The 4 of them were unwilling to leave their boss behind. Gu Jiao threw them one by one. Because the 4 of them were poisoned, their condition was not good, so they really threw them to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao, the feeling of throwing the dragon shadow guards is too good. The movement here alarmed the imperial bodyguards in the manor, and more dragon shadow guards rushed over. After Gu Jiao threw the last dragon shadow guard of Princess Xinyong over, she quickly jumped up the wall. But the moment she jumped down, a thin rope suddenly stretched out behind her and wrapped around her waist. With a sew, she was pulled back to the manor and fell heavily on the ground. Gu Jiao wanted to protect the medicine on her body, so she was unable to properly protect herself. This fall was not light. Gu Jiao let out a muffled groan. The owner of the rope still did not let go. He suddenly increased his strength and pulled Gu Jiao back. Gu Jiao picked up the red tasseled spear on the ground. With her bare hands, she took off the white cloth wrapped around the spear. She turned over and knelt on one knee. Holding the red tasseled spear, she fiercely slashed. With a paw sound, the thin rope was mercilessly cut off by the red tasseled spear. The imperial bodyguard who was holding the rope suddenly lost his grip and fell back to the ground. The youth knelt on one knee, wearing a coquettish peacock mask. The pair of eyes that were exposed were as fierce as the god of deaths. Not far away, a man from the Yan kingdom who saw this scene was suddenly stunned. His gaze fell on the wolf-like youth. He was shocked by the youth's skills and murderous aura. His agility was secondary. Such talented youths could be found everywhere in the Yan kingdom. But his gaze and aura were different from those he had seen before. And his red tasseled spear. The red tasseled spear had a big red flower pasted on it by the little Jing Kong, and his hair was braided. To be honest, one could not tell anything from a glance. He wanted to take a second look, but the youth was taken away by the powerful death warrior. Or perhaps it should be said that he was taken away. "General." An imperial bodyguard cupped his hands and said, "I'm incompetent to let him break into the manor." The man from the Yan kingdom said, "Send someone to chase after him. Also, check if there's anything missing in the manor." "Yes." The imperial bodyguard ordered 2 groups of people to act separately. The man from the Yan kingdom looked in the direction of the youth's departure and did not come back to his senses for a long time. A counselor came over. "General, what are you looking at?" The man from the Yan kingdom used his eyes to indicate the direction of the courtyard wall. "Did you see that youth just now? Don't you think he's a little familiar?" "Familiar?" The counselor said, "No, he was wearing a mask. I didn't see his face clearly." The man from the Yan kingdom said thoughtfully, "It's not his appearance. It's that murderous aura." The youth did not make many moves and there was not a bloody scene. But someone with a natural aura was different from others when he made a move. The counselor smiled and said, "That youth is just he's not very powerful. There are many people like him in the Yen Kingdom." The man from the Yen Kingdom frowned. "I thought he was familiar. Is it his gaze? Or is it related to his weapon?" The counselor asked, "General, are you referring to that long spear?" The man from the Yen Kingdom murmured, "It's not an ordinary long spear. It's a red tasseled spear. It's a bit like Shenyuan Li's divine weapon." Shenyuan Li. The counselor smiled. Shenyuan Li's red tasseled spear is indeed in the Zhao Kingdom. It's not strange if you saw it. General, don't tell me you thought you saw Shenyuan Li's descendant just now? The man from the Yen Kingdom sighed. "I thought too much. The men of the Shenyuan family have all been killed. Even the babies in swaddling clothes were not spared. It's impossible for there to be a descendant left in the world." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/108446581. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 585. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more wonderful content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. Gu Jiao and Long Yi returned to the forest. Princess Xinyong's carriage and her subordinates were still there. Princess Xinyong had already noticed that Long Yi and the others were missing, so she wasn't surprised to see them return with Gu Jiao. "Why did you take so long?" Princess Xinyong asked. Long Yi put Gu Jiao into the carriage. Gu Jiao's cheeks were once again numbed by the cold wind. It took her a long time to regain her senses. Gu Jiao didn't answer Princess Xinyong's question, but said in a muffled voice, "Can you tell Long Yi not to pinch me?" Long Yi's speed was too fast. Being pinched really felt like there was a big blower blowing wind in front of him. Princess Xinyong curled her lips. He only listened half a sentence. "I told him not to pinch you in the future, but I guarantee that he only heard, 'pinch you.'" Gu Jiao. One day, she would definitely pinch Long Yi and stroll around everywhere. Gu Jiao continued, "Something happened and we alerted the enemy." "Are you injured?" Princess Xinyong asked. Gu Jiao said, "Long Yi and I are fine. The others were bitten by poisonous insects. They weren't ordinary poisonous insects, they were specially used to deal with dragon shadow guards. That day in the Imperial study, Qin Fengyan should have used these poisonous insects." Princess Xinyong opened the curtain and looked at the 4 dragon shadow guards riding on horses. They were wearing masks, so she couldn't see whether their faces were pale or not. "Is it very serious?" she asked. Gu Jiao said, "They cleaned up the poisonous insects in time, but there is still a bit of poison left in their bodies." Princess Xinyong frowned. They weren't even afraid of poisonous snakes, but they were actually afraid of poisonous insects. Gu Jiao thought for a moment and said, "Everything has its vanquisher. Sometimes, the more powerful the existence, the more inconspicuous its natural enemy is." "That's true." Princess Xinyong put down the curtain. "You and Long Yi weren't bitten." Gu Jiao shook her head. "Those bugs won't bite us." Princess Xinyong could understand why it didn't bite Gu Jiao. If it was specifically to deal with the dragon shadow guard, then Gu Jiao wasn't within the scope of the poisonous bug's preference. But Long Yi. Princess Xinyang looked at Long Yi, who was obediently sitting on the outer seat of the carriage, and muttered, "Sure enough, he came in randomly." She pressed her forehead and asked, "Did you get the antidote?" Gu Jiao untied the bundle from her body. "All the medicine that I could find is here. I just don't know which bottle is the antidote. I have to take it back and let Madame Nan take a look." Princess Xinyang had heard of Shenyang before. She was the wife of the carpenter master that Xiao Hang found for Gu Xiaoshun and Gu Yen through Elder Feng's connections. However, she had never seen him before. Princess Xinyang pondered for a moment and asked, "What if Qin Fengyan was lying to you? What if the antidote isn't in the hands of the people of Yen?" Gu Jiao confessed, "After she said that, I used a hallucinogen to interrogate her again. The answers were the same. She didn't lie." Princess Xinyang asked doubtfully, "What is a hallucinogen?" Gu Jiao explained, "It's a kind of knockout drug used to interrogate people." Princess Xinyang glanced at her. "Is it very effective?" Gu Jiao continued, "It's effective for some people, but some people will be immersed in the hallucination and unable to communicate with the outside world. That way, it won't be effective." Princess Xinyang said indifferently, "Give me some later." Gu Jiao, "Okay." Thinking of something, Gu Jiao hurriedly said, "Time is tight. I'll make it short. There are 2 more things." Princess Xinyang looked at her. "Speak." Gu Jiao said, "In the people of Yen, there is a general surnamed Nangong. Also, today, there was a person from Zhao who dealt with General Nangong. Before he left, he said to General Nangong, 'General Nangong, thank you.'" Princess Xinyang suspiciously frowned. "General Nangong? General Nangong, thank you?" Gu Jiao wanted to quickly send the antidote back to the imperial palace. Princess Xinyang let Long Yi accompany her. The 2 of them picked 2 of the strongest horses. Gu Jiao rode on the back of the horse and warned Princess Xinyang, "The 4 of them have been poisoned. It's best if they don't ride horses in case something happens on the way. After we return to the capital, I'll detoxify them." Princess Xinyang said seriously, "I know. Hurry up and go. You must save little Qi." Gu Jiao pulled the reins tightly and turned the horse around. Looking back at the carriage, she said, "Also, the people of Yen might chase after us. Be careful." Princess Xinyang said, "Don't worry about that. Let's go quickly." Gu Jiao and Long Yi quickly urged their horses and rushed into the night. It was just past midnight. It was reasonable to say that there was plenty of time. Unfortunately, the Dragon Shadow Guards of Yen country caught up. There was only one official road. No matter how Gu Jiao and Long Yi shook them off, they were still getting closer and closer. Long Yi reined in his horse. Gu Jiao turned around and exchanged a tacit glance with him. Gu Jiao continued to urge the horse forward. Long Yi turned around and blocked the path of that group of people with his own strength. Gu Jiao raised the horse's speed to the limit. This was the official road that Qin Fengyan had escaped from. 10 li ahead, they would reach the Phoenix Pavilion. After passing the Phoenix Pavilion, they would reach the Phoenix Pavilion. Songbei Mountain was less than 20 li away from the western gate of the capital. But when they approached the Phoenix Pavilion, an arrow suddenly shot from the side of the mountain and hit Gu Jiao's horse. The horse cried out in pain and fell forward. Gu Jiao also rushed out. It was too late to pull out her spear. She protected the bundle in her bosom and rolled several times on the ground before she finally stabilized her body. However, before she could stand up, another arrow whizzed through the air. If she hadn't reacted quickly and moved half an inch to the side, that arrow would have nailed her entire arm to the ground. Gu Jiao's eyes were like torches as she looked in the direction of the hill. There, a black-robed expert stood with a bow. His wide sleeves were fluttering in the cold wind. Even though they were separated by thousands of mountains and rivers, Gu Jiao could still feel the killing intent in his eyes. His aura was not weaker than serious. He came up from the side road, so he didn't meet Long Yi on the official road. It seemed that if she didn't kill him today, she wouldn't be able to leave. Now that she had recovered her strength, She wouldn't be too embarrassed if she met Sirius. If she fought well, she might be able to tie with him, but it was almost impossible for her to kill him. Gu Jiao coldly raised her hand and held the red tasseled spear on her back. The cunning palace was brightly lit. Qin Chuyu was unconscious, and the palace servants didn't dare to breathe. Empress Xiao and Nan Xiang had been waiting in the room until now. Eunuch Su saw that Empress Xiao was so haggard that even her eyes were bloodshot, but he didn't dare to persuade her. Empress Xiao's eyes were swollen from crying, and her voice was hoarse. She held Qin Chuyu's hand and stroked his pale face. She choked with sobs. "Little Qi, you have to hold on. Nothing must happen to you. As long as you wake up, Mother will promise you anything. Mother won't force you to memorize books. I won't force you to practice calligraphy. If you don't want to go to the Imperial College, Mother won't send you there. How many snacks do you want to eat? Mother will give you. Nothing must happen to you." Qin Chuyu's little body began to convulse. Nan Xiang quickly stood up and pulled up Qin Chuyu's sleeve. She saw that the white mark on Qin Chuyu's wrist had already spread to his palm. Once it reached his fingertips, he would be powerless to save himself. "Dr. Nan, how is little Qi?" Empress Xiao cried and asked. Nan Xiang said, "His condition is worse than I expected. I can't suppress the poison anymore. I can't wait until dawn." She looked at the hourglass on the wall and said with a complicated expression, At most, he has 2 hours. If he can't bring the antidote back by 4 o'clock in the morning, if that was the case, then perhaps, even the great firmament deities wouldn't be able to save him." Empress Xiao threw herself onto Qin Chuyu's body and cried, "Xiaoqi." Little Qi, outside the Phoenix Pavilion, the moon was dark and the wind was strong. Gu Jiao and the black-robed man had fought for hundreds of rounds. As time went by, Gu Jiao's strength was disappearing little by little. She underestimated Sky Wolf's realm. Last time on the Snow Mountain, she tricked Sky Wolf and didn't let him use his real strength. Now that she met the second Sky Wolf, she knew how terrible a master of this realm was. Gu Jiao's arm and waist were slightly injured. She was supported by the red tasseled spear. Otherwise, she would have been cut by the man's long saber. The black-robed man chopped down his long saber again. Gu Jiao's spear was like a dragon, twisting his long saber. The two weapons collided, and a series of sparks appeared in the dark night. Neither of them gave way. They were so close to each other that even the murderous intent in their eyes was fierce. Gu Jiao kicked him, and he blocked it with his shoe. They both stepped back, and Gu Jiao stepped back more. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. If they continued fighting like this, they wouldn't be able to kill him until dawn. Gu Jiao knelt on one knee, using her spear to support her exhausted body. She looked at him with her red eyes and panted. Suddenly, Gu Jiao stood up, showing a ferocious look in her eyes. She raised her left hand and grabbed the safety talisman around her neck with her fingertips. She tore off the safety talisman given to her by Princess Xinyang and put her fist down. She loosened her fist, and the safety talisman slowly fell to the ground. The black-robed man looked at the young man in front of him strangely, not understanding what he was doing. The young man stuck out the tip of his tongue and licked the blood on the corner of his mouth. The next second, the young man's aura suddenly soared. The god of killing has returned. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/896428286/1084455585. HTML Genius memorized the website's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.